The following podcast may contain adult language and an abundance of salt. So get ready, nerds, because we're talking C, Season 1 recap. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Salty Nerd Podcast. Today, we're going to be doing a Season 1 recap of the Apple TV exclusive show C, starring Jason Momoa. And I am joined, as always, by my fantastic panel of nerds. Matt Vader74 is here, and he is blitzed out of his mind. Welcome, sir. He's been sick. Did you bring us our gifts?
I did not.
Oh, how dare you.
I haven't finished them.
How dare you,
so
sir.
I am making string knots. I'm making a gift for all of you. I'm actually currently, I have a 2-foot piece of leather cord that I'm currently transcribing the entire Earthman Jack series onto as a gift for Matthew Kadish.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Great.
So I will try to bring them next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a lot of work.
I believe it.
It really is.
It's like how many words per knot?
Trying to get that whole 18 book series onto 2 feet of leather. I'm almost done.
Okay.
But it's going to work.
All right.
People have no idea what I'm talking about.
No, not right now. Jude is here as well. Welcome, Jude.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
You have been dying to talk about this show.
Yeah.
This is your baby.
It is.
I think this is like if I was going to point to anything, like Jude, the podcast and Jude, put those two together, your love of C
and Roger Corman.
and Roger Corman and Jason Momoa, like that's your avenue.
Yeah.
So this is her fault.
I'm very excited for today. And let me tell you something. I'm even more excited for Friday because that's when season 2 comes out.
Yeah, season 2 is dropping Friday. So that's why we're doing this. We're super excited for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. 27th.
Wow. I'm super pumped.
I'm really excited to get into the recap of the show so that people are not lost about all of these jokes that we're making.
Yeah. And last but not least, Matthew Kadish. Welcome, sir.
Chet Chet.
Chet Chet Chet.
Chet Chet.
So before we get started on this, I just want to let everyone know, disclaimer, we're going to be making fun of this show because it's ridiculous. And none of this has to do with making fun of actual blind people. It's the blind people in the show that we're going to be making fun of because they're not actually blind and they don't really make any sense.
Well, I think
as
there
to
are
what they
some
do.
blind people.
Well,
Extras, yeah.
Yeah, but none of the main characters are. So I just want to say to anyone out there who might get offended,
we're not making fun of people because they're blind. We're making fun of this show because it's ridiculous.
Exactly. Thank you.
Also, we love this show.
Yeah.
We love how ridiculous this show is.
There's a weird thing here because I think people who maybe in the production of the show or shit, God forbid, even Jason Momoa sees our stuff, like he's going to be like, oh, these pieces of shit making fun of our show. Dude, we love it.
Yeah.
We love how ridiculous it is.
There is something so absurdly addictive about this show that I cannot stop thinking about it or watching it.
I completely agree. All right, guys, before we get into the super nitty gritty of season 1 of C, we're going to take a quick break to listen to some sponsors. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. If you would like to support the podcast, go to saltynerdclub.com. There you can find our Patreon page. You can join the Patreon team and get exclusive access to all kinds of really cool stuff. And specific to this show, if you scroll back far enough, there is a Salty Nerd Lost episode that is literally what broke the podcast for a couple weeks.
Don't listen to it.
It's so bad.
It's awful.
But
I'm the drunkest person in the house.
So that kind of segues into our history of this TV show. So one of the first shows that we ever, as a group, all 4 of us here as the Salty Nerd Podcast, wanted to watch was C. Mostly because of Jason Momoa, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
We're like, Jason Momoa's got a TV show.
And it was like a new Apple TV.
So Kadish is like,
Way back in 2019.
yeah.
Yes.
Kadish was like, we need to do season or episode by episode breakdowns of this show. So we did the first season intro and we kind of were all like,
What the hell?
What the hell?
What is this thing?
What is this nonsense we're watching? This doesn't make any sense. And we started making fun of this show like really hard. Like we were brutal.
It kind of put us on the track to where we could just stuck on.
Yeah, that kind of set the trend for like.
we started out as a review show, but this was so ridiculous and it was so funny that we just kind of like tried to stick with the whole, let's just make fun of shit.
Yeah, let's just be stupid, salty, and nonsensical. Like that's kind of like what set the trend. And then we watched, I think, the second episode. And by that point, I was like, guys,
You did some math in that episode.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute. And at this point, I was like, starting to worry. I'm like, I think we're being really harsh on this show.
Like, we're making fun of blind people.
And also, this show is terrible, and I don't really want to watch it anymore.
And then by the third episode, you were like, I can't stop.
But the third episode, we got together, and it was in this living room, but it was before we had all this fancy equipment, I think, or we had some of it, but not all
We
of
just
it.
had like a dining room table and
Yeah.
microphones.
And Jude, you were at like a Christmas party or something.
I know we've talked about the debacle of this.
Yeah. So
several
how did
times.
that go down? Because it was the sausage party for a little while, and Kate was like, "Well, we can start, and then when Jude gets in, we'll include her into it." So we had been talking about this episode, and at this point, I was like, "I don't want to talk about this show anymore. I think we need to pull the plug. This show's awful." And then Kate was like, "No, we need to stick it out. We made a commitment. We need to do it."
Kadish is very the guy that makes us follow through with the things that we say we're going to do. But this one case, I broke it.
Okay. And then, so what happened? You came home from a party?
I was at a Christmas party and I opened up a bottle of tequila and I got really wasted. And we did the show with me drunk, and I thought it was a great time.
I thought weren't we halfway through a show?
Yeah. Yeah. She had walked in halfway through.
She comes stumbling in, and her
tits out.
Tits fall on the table. And I'm like, whoa.
My tits were not out.
Pretty much.
I was wearing something very revealing. Don't make people think I walked in topless.
No. That's not what I meant.
Yeah, and
So you were like
keep in mind that these two co-hosts of ours did not know Jude as well as they do now.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
We had just met you.
You were fairly new to the
They've
podcast.
seen my tits way more since then. We're okay with it now.
So you came in and you were like, "Oh, we're talking about fucking C." And you sat down, and Vader literally took his hat, and he was like, "Oh shit, I can't be here right now." And he took his hat and he pulled it down over his face for the entire rest of the recording.
To be respectful of my
To
boobs.
be respectful of Jude's boobs.
I can't look at your women's boobs, dude. It's very weird.
I didn't know that when you said you wanted to talk about our history with the show, we were going to continue to talk about my boobs.
No, but that's a main component to the whole story. So
the boobs that broke the show.
Yeah. You and Kadish, I kind of like checked out. Like I didn't at this time. I didn't really know how to like host a show. I was still trying to like figure out this whole thing. I'm like, I don't know what kind of questions to ask. I don't know how to direct a conversation. So it ended up just being you and Kadish talking about this episode, and it went on for what, like another 30, 40 minutes or so before we were done.
It went on for too long.
It was mostly Jude.
It was mostly Jude just ranting about
like
this.
drunkenly talking.
It was a lot of rambling.
You were like mimicking episode by or line by line of characters. You're like, remember when this chick said this, this, and this? And I was just sitting there like, I'm trying to think of like, how am I going to edit this together to make it into like an actual presentable show?
I apologize.
I couldn't do it. Kadish texted me and he's like, "Hey man, if it's too hard to edit, don't worry about it."
The DMs that week were weird.
Yeah.
They were very weird. It's like we need to kick this bitch off the fucking show.
No. But I think at some point we were like, we need to limit our alcohol consumption.
Well, I remember I had a conversation with Jude the next day, and I was like, I think it's best if you don't drink before we do the podcast.
But now it's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, but we drink.
We're professionals.
We're
now.
professional now. We get
We're
it.
professional drunks now. It's okay.
So at this point, like I was sitting there listening to the raw, the unedited version of this episode, and I'm
And
like,
you were thinking, how can I make this worse?
yeah.
Honestly though, I mean that single episode, it became some glue. It bound us together.
And it's one of the funniest things that's ever happened.
I love Jude. She is she's like
You guys are freaking soulmates by now.
She's my platonic soulmate.
I think we might actually be the same person.
Yeah.
But like he's a dude and I'm a girl.
Okay, all right.
For sure. And Matt's very lucky to have her.
Yeah, it was a thing that happened to us that has definitely stuck around.
Yeah. 100%.
Of all the episodes we've done, it's
and now 2 years later, we get to recap it actual professionals.
Yes.
Well, come on now. Let's be real.
Like sort of professionals.
Sort of professionals, but also drunk.
I've had 3 gallons of vagina juice.
I mean,
so
that's why I can't get drunk during this one. I gotta save my face.
I'm gonna put my tits on the table here.
Do
it.
So anyway, that's the history. If you want to listen to that lost episode,
you got to be a patron.
You got to be a patron.
And you got to like Super Mario.
Yes, because so at the time when I was first learning how to edit, it was like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna just make this like a Patreon only episode. And so I was learning how to edit on Audacity, and I learned how to do this super cool thing of adding like an undertone of music to shit. And I was like, oh, that's a new skill I have.
It's highly annoying.
So like an idiot, I put Super Mario Brothers.
But you know what? I should thank you because it's not the worst thing about that episode. It is the worst thing about that episode. I'm not the worst thing about that episode.
For the entirety of this shitty ass lost episode, it's just do the whole way through.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
It's
it totally
awful.
distracts you from what Jude's saying. So it's good.
And I've tried to go back and find like the original raw recording because I still have the laptop that I recorded it on, but I can't find it. I don't know where it went. So it might be gone forever.
I was laying out gold about this show.
Good Lord.
I
Anyway.
really wish that I had held on to like my fashion reports.
Oh, I remember those.
Yeah,
yes.
those were good.
I might still have some of those. I'll see if
Okay.
I can find them. But yeah, Jude, when she couldn't be on the podcast live with us talking, she did like fashion reports, and she made it a Jude thing, and it was amazing. It was actually kind of funny, and I loved listening to them after the fact. She would email them to me. But anyway,
Yeah, before she got into doing all the synopses, she would do these fashion reports for like some of our recurring talking abouts.
We need to do like a super cut of Jude and her synopsises.
okay, guys, we might have to cut this. But Nick, I just talked to Nick last night. He is actively taking literal quotation notes
He's a madman.
of
Oh my
Jude's
God.
synopsises, word by word, and putting them on Wikipedia.
Buddy,
Nice.
I can
That
just
works.
email them to you. I have them written down.
You might need to. He's going back and listening to your synopsises and
Honey,
typing
I'll
it out.
just send them to you.
Nick is one of our top patrons. Wonderful dude.
Oh, Nick,
He's
you're the best.
crazy dedicated to the podcast. So shout out to
Yeah,
Nick.
we love Nick.
Nick's
By the
amazing.
time he hears this, there will be a package delivered to his.
Good. Yeah.
to his,
He might even get it today.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe today or tomorrow. I think it's going to arrive. So anyway, all right, guys. So
feel like
now the official podcast starts. We're going to get into the actual show. So before we do, we're going to take another quick break. We'll be right back, and when we do, Jude's going to take it away. All right, welcome back, everybody, to the official Season 1 recap for the Salty Nerd Podcast. Jude, what is this show all about?
Well, I'll tell you.
She brought a string.
Her synopsis is all in knots.
Yes.
It's all in the knot.
Oh, Holy Father,
No.
please bless my children as we wander through this world of darkness.
Okay, let me explain.
So, Jude, what is this show all about?
See Season 1. Centuries from now, a deadly virus killed all but 2 million humans on Earth, leaving those who survived so blind that the idea of sight is a myth. In fact, don't even talk about vision because it's heresy. In fact, anyone who can see is a witch or a god, depending on who you ask. But don't ask anyone because there's no such thing, and also it's heresy to speak of. But also, the queen is a god. And also, if you can see, you're a god who makes more gods by having children. By having gods. But also, the sun is God, and if you want to pray, you just need to give yourself a real good jerk sesh. In this magical world, water bottles are plentiful and last forever.
That's right.
People who do witchy things like sense hatred and talk to owls are definitely not witches. Messages are told through knotted rope, and fashion rules.
I freaking love it. Oh my God. Okay. So real quick, we're going to go down the path of the main characters of the show to let you guys in on who everybody is. So the number one reason why we were even watching this show is because of Jason Momoa, who plays a character named Baba Voss, who is the head of a mountain-dwelling tribe called the Alkeni.
Alkeni tribe.
Baba Voss is a fearless warrior.
Baba Voss is the Baba Boss.
Baba Voss is the Baba Voss, and he's also named after a bottle of Voss. Water bottle reference, which is water bottles will be a big part of this freaking
They're
season.
huge.
Oh my gosh.
So that was actually a joke we came up
Yes,
with. That's not in the show.
I just got that.
Yeah, dude.
Wow.
I know. We're really smart. All right. So anyway,
It's a name passed down for centuries.
he is the leader that they read it on the side of a Bob, whatever.
Is there a Baba Fiji?
Maybe. It's his brother, played by Dave Bautista. Anyway,
You gotta get through it, man. Just
I know.
get through
Jason
it.
Momoa plays the leader of this tribe. He is a fearless warrior, really strong fighter, and he's also got a very mysterious past that he doesn't let anybody know. And the only person who questioned it got burnt at the stake by his request. He's a pretty intense character, but also it's basically just Jason Momoa being a badass.
Yes.
Which is wonderful to watch.
But blind.
But blind.
And the person who questioned his past, who got burnt at the stake, that is pivotal in pretty much everything that happens during season 1, because the descendants of that person are out to get Baba Voss and his witch family.
So that brings us to
Suitor and Gether.
Yes, Suitor and Gether Bax.
They are, Suitor is Gether Bax's aunt.
Who he's also banging.
So,
well, the aunt is also the sister of the one who got sacrificed.
I was just about to say. So the person who got burnt at the stake was Suitor's sister and Gether's mother.
Okay.
So Suitor and Gether are the only family that each other has. They are aunt and nephew, and they are also banging. And they wear a ton of burlap.
Yes. And they also like smell each other when they get close. You know, they kind of like do the sniff thing. It's very strange.
If I was blind, I would smell a
That's
lot of
probably
people
just
too.
a thing.
Yeah, but Gether, like, so he never forgave the death of his mother, and so he has like a blood feud with Baba Voss, and he wants to basically take revenge on the entire tribe for killing his mother, because Paris also had a thing to do with that.
Was that the dude that like betrayed them?
Yeah.
Yes.
The
Yes.
guy that was
The main
like,
dude who was like, that's where they live. And he was telling
I hate that guy.
Yeah, he's a dick. He's the actor who plays him is Mohin Arya. He's, I'm sure, a very talented guy, but
I feel like I've seen him in other stuff.
he might be in other stuff. He has one of those faces.
I actually love him.
And then
Like,
I do not.
Soderbax.
At one point, like the spoiler, the whole tribe gets murdered. And I'm so sad that I never see him again throughout the rest of the season.
He's kind of a creep, though.
He's the worst. But that's the thing about this show. There's so much that you shouldn't like, but you do.
Yeah. Okay.
Continue.
Anyway, Mary Lee Talkington is Soderbax.
Yes.
Soter. I don't know how you say her name.
Suitor.
It's like Shooter.
Okay. And then Magra. Magra is the mother of the two main children who are cited in this movie. She's also the wife of Baba Voss, Jason Momoa. And she has another deep history that kind of gets revealed as the season goes forward.
Yes.
She has secrets.
She has secrets that she has been holding out on. And then by the end of the season, we get to the big reveal that she's actually the sister of Queen Kane, the main villain of the show.
She's a princess.
She's a princess, which actually, that moment was actually pretty,
Yeah.
that was pretty cool. So anyway, do you guys have anything to add for Magra? Do you guys want to talk about her for a second?
Magra.
I just wanted to point out that because you mentioned the queen, so Magra and her sister, the queen, can both see lies when people speak.
Well, also, so because everyone in the society is blind, some of them develop like extrasensory perception stuff, whether it be hearing or like emotional stuff. So one of Magra's superpowers is she always knows when someone's lying.
And the queen is the same way.
Yeah.
But the queen also has like super hearing, like she can like hear people shifting their feet and stuff like that. So it's very inconsistent.
Yeah, it's very plot driven.
But yeah, so Magra has this thing about like she can tell when she's being lied to.
Yeah. So that's Magra, played by Hera Himmler, the actress who plays her. And then this looks nice segue for Queen Kane, who's the main villain of the show.
She is super bonkers.
She is
She's loopy.
nut job
Nut job.
material. So she is the divine ruler, an absolute monarch of the Payan Kingdom, which is also known as the House of Kane, which is based off of a old Pennsylvania dam. Because the location of this show actually takes place in a real area in Pennsylvania.
I actually like Google Map this thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, is this place real? And it is.
It is.
And
It's
that's
a
the
real
power
place.
of this show. It's
Yeah.
forcing us to be like, I have to know more.
Yes.
No,
because you're like the Alkeny clan.
Alkeny.
Yeah, Alkeny clan. And then you look and there's actually a place in Pennsylvania called Alkeny and you're like,
Yeah.
oh shit. And there's an actual dam.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, this is like, they're actually taking elements of the real world.
Which is so
It's
crazy
wild, right?
because how inconsistent the whole show is.
Yeah.
But then there's like this
Attention to detail
attention to
right.
detail and continuity.
that
and
doesn't belong.
So, oh my God, it's making me
it's like-
crazy.
But anyway.
These people in their world are like in this very small part
Yeah.
of the map, but yet it feels like it's like the entire
The world.
planet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but they're only within like 100 miles of each other.
If you go like 100 miles to New York City, is there a different? Can people see there? What's going on?
We don't know.
No,
It's like everybody know what's going on.
heresy. Don't even question it. How dare you speak of it?
But anyway.
There's so much stuff that they could explore and like expand on in this show.
This show has a lot of potential.
It's wild to even think about. Yeah,
I agree.
Sure.
So anyway, Queen Kane, the most, this is what almost broke me for this TV show.
Boy.
The most notable thing
Well,
about this character is the way that she prays to her.
How devout she is.
The way that she prays to her God.
Dude, I pray all the time.
Is she masturbates and or forces a servant to go down on her.
Yeah.
And her orgasm is God talking to her.
Well, of course.
And this poor actress, Sylvia Hulks, I think I'm saying that name right, Holks.
Dude, she sells it like
she
nothing
is
else.
so devoted to her craft.
Amazing.
She'll sit there and lick her fingers and
Go down.
start praying.
Oh, Heavenly
She
Father.
blows her orgasm juice up to heaven, but she blows on her fingers. She's
Our
like,
Father.
It is the most amazing sequence of acting I have ever
Oh,
seen.
God. It's so good.
It's so gross.
It's like I want to have dinner and just like pray to God.
So shout out to
Like-
Sylvia.
It's like say the blessing, dear Lord, please bless the people
like
who
don't
made this dinner
eat.
and all the people who helped provide.
Don't eat wings while you watch
Yeah,
this.
don't stand over the mashed potatoes, Vader.
Oh, no.
It's so fucking nasty, dude.
It's so, and this scene, and I think it was the
it
first
happens
episode.
it's the first episode, and the camera stays on her.
Yes.
and doesn't move.
Yes, and
the
there's no
entire time.
music. There's no nothing. It's
so
just
awkward and committed.
It's like I was with this show. All right, this isn't the first fucking episode.
yeah.
I'm with the haka dance on the wall.
Yeah. We'll
I'm
get
with,
there.
I'm with
We'll
the
get there.
battle. I'm all this, and then she starts masturbating to pray to God.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck am I watching right now? This is like the craziest shit I have ever seen in my life on television. It was the goofiest thing. And this actress, I don't even know her name. I know you said her name.
Sylvia.
She sold it, man. She completely sold it.
100%.
She brought up her wet ass fingers, fucking licked her fingers. And she's all, and it was just like, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? It was like, this is the goofiest shit I've ever seen in my life.
And you 100% believe that is a prayer.
Totally. I was like, my God, I am into religion now. I want in on this religion. I want to go like fucking bust a load and pray to God and just like say this is like the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Needless to say, Queen Kane is our favorite character in the show.
Oh God,
my God.
she's so over the top.
She's so over the top.
She sells it so well.
Oh.
Even when she's like not masturbating, she's like so goofy
And creepy.
weird.
And very
Yeah.
creepy.
The way that she
Yeah.
talks, the thing that she does with her voice, she's
Oh,
like,
yeah. She's constantly like, yeah,
and
it's
she has this thing where she lilts
like whisper
up and
yells.
down.
She whisper
Yeah,
yells at
she's
people.
like,
Oh,
I am a god, you are a god, and he's making a god. It's so bizarre, and it gets inside me. I don't
so
know
weird.
what to do with it once it's
I know.
inside me.
It makes you feel weird, right?
Yes.
It's like,
shout out to Sylvia.
what is this lady doing? I don't understand.
I don't know,
I don't get it.
but I love her.
It's like,
Okay.
you're going to sacrifice this guy. And it's just like, I'm like,
And she murders everybody.
Everyone.
Everybody's dead
Yeah.
by the end of the season. All right. Queen Kane.
great character.
Great character. Very bizarre character.
Weird.
Shout out to the actress who pulls that off. Holy shit. If I was getting paid and they were like, listen, this is what's on the script, I'd
She
be
needs a
like,
raise.
you want me to do what?
And then you're gonna lick your fingers.
And then you're going to blow it to God.
Like,
and they're
honestly,
like, you're the only one on screen.
don't you think that because this show is so like a roller coaster ride of characters and things that happen, don't you think that the things that the character, like the actors do, are things that the actors just like decided is a backstory.
100%.
Yeah, like I don't even think that was written into the script. I think she
just started jacking off.
She made this decision to like really fucking go for it.
Wow.
And I think the same thing with like Suitor and Gether, how they like smell each other, but nobody else does that.
Yeah.
And I think that that's just such a smart character adaptation for this world where you live
How many
in.
people did we lose when we started talking about that?
At least one. She's all, so you guys want me to like flick my bean and pray to God? Is that what you want me to do? It's like,
Okay.
yes, that's what I want.
Next
Yeah,
up.
is that cool?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Queen Kane.
We lost.
Amazing.
I just broke
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. No, I'm just trying to move it forward because I don't want to take all day. Tamakta June.
Yes.
Okay. One of my favorite characters.
I love that dude.
Very understated.
Yeah.
He's a really cool character, but he doesn't get enough screen time.
He's the witch finder. So
Yes.
he's like the guy. If you think there's a witch in the neighborhood,
You call Tamakta June.
send this guy and he will find them.
Yes.
I
So he
think-
is the royal tax collector and
Witch
witch
finder.
finder for Queen Kane.
I think he's my favorite character
He's
on
a
the show.
badass. And
He's
I
got-
really
he's-
like
he's
him.
got-
Forgotten more about murder than you will
Oh,
ever
what
know.
a lie.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
I love
He's
it.
got the sickest beard.
Yes. And he's got some cool freaking.
How do blind people have such good beard grooming?
That's a great question. I don't know.
It's so
You can
good.
feel
I've
it.
asked that so many times.
You can
while
feel
watching
it.
the show.
You can
It's
feel
like,
it. You
I'm
know.
looking at this thing. I mean, my beard is a work of art, and I put a lot of work into this thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I would do it if I was like blind. I don't know how.
You'd have to
Because-
feel it.
Tamakta June's beard is epic.
He's got a lot of cool ear piercings too.
Yeah, and he's got that leather strap around the back of his neck, which
Yeah.
I'm not sure why that's
we
there.
pondered this leather strap for a while. I don't know if that's like a warrior thing
I don't
or if
either.
that's
I'm, like,
historically accurate.
I wanted to get one of those just for a fashion.
Does he have an eye in the back of his head that he's trying to cover up? I don't know.
I don't know.
It's weird.
And he
It's
has
hundreds of years from now. Who knows how society has
And he
evolved?
has,
Right?
he has the coolest name of any
Tamakta
character.
June.
Tamakta June.
Tamakta June.
That
That's
is
a
a
frickin'
caveman name.
Badass name.
Absolutely.
This is our second favorite character of the show.
Yeah.
All right. So he's at the behest of Queen Kane. He's
Mm-hmm.
basically the driving force behind Baba Voss.
He's the general of the armies.
Yeah. He's the one
The
who's
head witch finder.
he's the one who's constantly after Baba
Yeah,
Voss and the kids.
he's like the main antagonist
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
like the first quarter of the
They've
show.
got to keep fleeing
Yeah.
because if
He's on the
Tamakta
trail.
June
Well,
finds
I would argue that the main antagonist is actually that weird albino dude that hangs out with Tamakta June.
Dude.
that we don't really know anything about.
I don't know anything about him. There's
He's so creepy.
There's a guy in the show who looks like he's got ripped out of Mortal Kombat. He's got this fantastic, completely white beard and hair with like blue tattoos.
I really want to know more about him.
I don't even know his name.
Yeah.
He never speaks.
But he sells it.
But he's awesome. He's so incredible to look at. You're just like, what is
yeah,
that?
yeah, he's like Tamakta June's like top lieutenant, like right hand man.
He looks like Skeletor.
But he never talks.
No.
Not a single written line.
But you're invested.
But I look at him and I'm like,
the whole season, I was like, this guy's going to fuck some shit
that's
up.
know,
what-
right?
Yes.
I don't know when it's going to happen, but I'm certain it's still going to happen.
But he
never
never
does it.
He never does.
He never does anything. He just stands stoically on a horse.
I want to know
now
this guy.
I think he's in charge now.
Yeah, that's possible.
Not to spoil it.
Could be.
Well, yeah, we'll find out. But anyway, okay.
Yeah, so Tamakta June has been searching for these twin babies that are born in the first episode for 20 years. And he's been like taking the army, and the queen's just been sending more soldiers to him because they keep dying off. And so the Alkane tribe has to keep fleeing from him because if Tamakta June finds the tribe,
He's
he
going to kill
kills
everybody.
everyone.
Yeah.
If there's a witch among you, you all must die.
Yeah.
I have this theory that the Alkane tribe, because they're all blind, right?
Yeah.
And I think they're really slow. So, they went like 3 miles down the river.
And nobody can find him.
Nobody can find them because they're like just like 3 miles down the river.
No, because their auras would be like,
all like,
I
oh.
sense 20 hoof prints
Yeah.
and hatred in the air.
I'm gonna go really slow. It's gonna take me 6 weeks to get there, but I'm gonna go 3 miles. It's like, I found this place.
Okay.
Nobody will ever find me.
You just hide in the freaking wide open. Nobody will ever see you. Okay.
Crazy.
All right, so we forgot to talk about Drilla Morrell.
Well, we're gonna get
getting
there.
there.
He's last on our list. So
Okay.
I'm gonna put the two kids together. So Kofun and Henowa
The twins.
are the twin children of Jura Morrell.
They're
Which
the
will,
worst characters in the whole show.
No.
Kofun?
Hanowa is cool. Kofun is like
Completely useless.
he's completely useless and sucks on a tit of soy.
he
Okay.
the tit of soy.
Yeah, he's just like
He sits on a throne of tit-sucking soy.
Yeah.
For a guy who has the gift of sight, he's completely useless.
He's so useless.
He's
constantly getting kidnapped and snuck up on.
Yeah, by blind people.
Yeah.
It's weird because he's like, oh, I can see, I have this ability, and
He can't fight.
Yep.
At all.
He gets his ass kicked constantly.
So you want to hear the official Wikipedia description of him?
Sure.
Please.
Okay. Composed, careful yet intelligent son of Magra, Kofun grows to be more cautious than his twin sister Henoa. While she uses the books to create weapons such as her bow and arrow, Kofun is more measured in what he uses the knowledge in the books for, and does not wish to abuse the knowledge they possess.
Yeah, they tried to make his character more intellectual, but he comes off as so stupid the entire series.
Yeah.
I don't feel like he pulled it off.
No, he didn't.
No.
And it's kind of funny because the names in this show are so crazy. Like I have a hard time remembering a lot of like the characters' names. And when we were
There's no consistency between them.
Yeah, when we were first talking about this show back 2 years ago, I couldn't remember the twins' names, so I just called them Hakuna Matata.
Oh, that's right. I do remember that.
Yeah, but these two twins, they have the gift of sight, and the entire show kind of revolves around them. And Jason Momoa's character, Baba Voss, his whole motivation is to keep them safe.
Mm-hmm.
And so like he's kind of like their protector. In a weird way, Momoa is not the main character of the show. It's these twins, but you hate the twins so much because they're worthless
So
that you just want to see more Baba Voss. And I think for season 2, they kind of figured this out.
Yeah.
Because it seems more Baba-centric.
I don't hate the twins. I like the girl.
She just
Henoa?
wants to kill
Henoa.
something.
I kind of like that,
but
though.
Henoa,
There's like a dark underbelly of like,
she's
oh, shit.
She's the smart one.
She's the ruthless one.
She knows what's going on, and she's not afraid to like fuck somebody up if
Yeah.
they fucked up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%.
Where Kofun, he's like the pacifist. They're like, I don't know if I want to do this.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
you know,
Henoa-
he lets blind people sneak up on him and capture him turn him into a slave. It's like, how does that even happen? It's ridiculous.
It's so stupid.
It's so dumb.
But yeah, I agree with you. Henoa is way more of a badass. Like there was a scene, I can't remember what episode it was in, but she was on a cliff and she was overlooking her tribe, her own people. And she's like,
I could kill,
kill
any of them at any time.
any one of them at any moment and nobody would even know what happened. And I'm like, God damn, girl, what the hell? And her brother kind of reacted the same way. He's like, what is wrong with you? But I'm like, yeah, all right. Freaking go, girl. Like, get it done. And then she goes and helps Baba Voss at one point, like fight a bunch of people. Like, I like her way more.
It's like the biggest problem I have with this entire show is how anybody who has sight in this world is not the supreme ruler, chancellor, emperor of everything within their eyesight.
Yeah.
Is beyond me.
It's because sighted people destroyed the world and brought about this plague, and therefore sight is evil.
But also doesn't exist.
I get
Also
that.
doesn't exist. Yeah.
I do get that.
And
Okay.
that's one of the inconsistencies with this show is that like it's so bizarre because sight never existed, but it did exist and it was evil. And also it makes you a god, but also it makes you a witch.
Which is your synopsis. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of points out the flaws in this.
Yeah, and one of the weird things is that like the main sighted guy in the show, Dylan Morrell, which we're going to get to in a little bit, like in the final episode, you see he's got like an arsenal of guns. Like
Yes.
like his eight sighted kids, like arm them with some guns. He could take over like the entire kingdom of Payan like tomorrow.
Without even thinking about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. You don't even need to hide. Just kill them.
Yeah.
It's like kill like 3 people that matter.
So you guys want to talk about Jeremy Morrell?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, we need to get through the cast.
Yeah. So Jeremy Morrell is the father, the paternal father of the twins.
He was like a servant in the kingdom.
Yes.
And the queen's consort.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then he ran away with Magra,
the sister.
the sister.
He goes around banging all these chicks.
Okay,
to make
that was
sighted
something
girls.
that I was shocked to realize at the end of the season. I was like, oh, this dude's just banging everybody he got a hold
He
of.
is popping babies and bitches the whole way through.
Because he has like
them.
9 kids that are
He's
all
got
kind of the same
1,000,000
age.
Kids, yeah.
Well, he knows that the only way he can get more sighted people is by siring them.
Yeah.
And so like his goal is to build a new like race of humanity that can see.
Yeah.
And therefore it's his God-given
I mean,
quest to impregnate as many women as
Yeah.
possible.
The dude's got game
He
Yeah.
does.
because he's got like 9 kids.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah,
Like
whatever.
he must have just like showed up.
And he's even got illegitimate ones running around out there. That
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Like
yeah.
Boots, yeah.
Boots. So that's a good
he's-
segue.
He starts off as a servant. He can see. He flees the kingdom, stacks tires, makes bridges. He makes ladders. He makes a book fair. Remember, he has that like trunk full of books that he leaves by a waterfall. He creates a whole new world, and he has a ton of children. So this guy's really the impetus for like everything.
Oh yeah,
he's the reason why
he was like the one-sided guy in the world, and now there's like 20 because he's just like banging everything along the way.
and then abandoning them to knock June. Okay, so real quick, to knock to June, I forgot to say the actor's name.
To knock to June's whole original quest was to find Jorah Morrell.
Yes.
Not to find the kids, but to find Jorah Morrell.
Yeah, and kill him. But then he realized that they had kids, so he had to kill the kids.
Which is actually really kind of funny because any guy with sight will never be caught by a guy that's blind. Ever.
Unless you're Kofun.
Unless you're Kofun in this show.
Well, I think that's the message that the show is trying to tell you, is that the sighted people are the true handicapped ones. Because they're not adapt to live in this world where everyone else has the other senses. Because the sighted people are just...
They're relying too much on their sight?
They're relying too much on their sight.
Okay. You could argue that. All right, so the next one on our list is Beau Lyon.
I love her.
Which one is she?
She's the shadow. She's
yeah. She can walk in silence.
Cool. Yeah, so her superpower, she's a daughter of another, I think
the dreamer.
The dreamer. And she's also a warrior, skilled fighter, but her true superpower is known as being a shadow, which means that she can cover up her scent. She makes no sound whatsoever when she walks.
She can hide her mind from the aurors.
She can hide pretty much. She's a ghost.
She can mask her heartbeat, her breathing.
Yeah. Even what they say, even dogs think they're just rocks or something like that. Like she's crazy talented at hiding.
We saw her before she was a shadow.
Yeah.
But then when we learned that she was a shadow, she was all covered in
white, white mud. Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
It is really cool. That
was a really interesting, and they're all, oh, Shadow, can you see me?
And she goes, tell me what you want me to do, Shadow. You're like, what?
Where'd that come from? The Shadow's here. You know, it was
so goofy.
And the way that she's like, you can tell she's having so much fun with the character too. Like Gether and Suiterbacks leave a message for the Shadow. Nobody knows who the Shadow is. They leave a message for the Shadow because they want the Shadow to spy on the family, Baba Voss and the twins and all of that.
Because they have books.
Yeah. So they're sure that Baba Voss and his family, there's witches among them, and they want the Shadow to confirm it. So they leave a message. The Shadow rolls up and is like, you know, I'm like basically saying I'm here, and it's like 1 for yes, 2 for no, or something like that. And just the look on her face was she's having so much fun, like taunting them with like where her is coming from. And like Gether's trying to like catch her.
Yeah, it keeps falling over.
She's rolling and she's just like, ha, 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 ha. Like, she's silent. It's just, it's so fun.
Well, what I want to know, and this goes to the many world building issues that this show has, is how do 3 generations removed of blind people have a concept of what a shadow is? Because the whole idea is that the shadow in the darkness can't be seen. Yeah. But if you don't have any concept of sight, how do you know what a shadow is?
Same thing I had, because at one point in time, Baba Voss calls her my brave lion. And I'm like, bro, you're in Pennsylvania. Do you know what a lion is? It's been 600 years since people could see.
Somebody sent a rope with the story of lions.
This is what a lion is, and this is why it's brave. That's that's a brave lion is a freaking shit. What's that movie? Oz, Wizard of Oz movie. That's a reference to that.
How long has it been? For like
500-600 years.
We are right now in 2021.
All it says is centuries later.
Yeah. I'm guessing like between 300 and 500.
So from our time now, how long has it been?
Let's say roughly 500 years.
Since the apocalypse or whatever.
500 years.
Went blind. 500 years.
That's what they said.
Well, they said centuries. So it's been at least 200, but like for this amount of information to get lost, like there's no such thing as sight. It's got to be longer than that.
But you have to wonder, how did all those water bottles survive?
That's only 2 generations.
Because the water bottles were a thing. Because we actually looked up how long it would take for water bottles to decompose. And it wasn't that long.
Like they're still passing water bottles back and forth. Like, here, sip from this. Here, I put some shampoo in this for you. Here you go. Yeah. Like they're still using these water bottles functionally.
I know for a fact that stuff like plywood decomposes in like less than in no time.
What did we say about the tires? Because at one point there's like a stack of tires. Yeah. How long does that take.
So I don't know, but real quick, let's burn through the rest of these characters.
Okay.
So we did Beau Lyon. She's the shadow. She's kind of like
I like her.
on the team of Baba Voss.
Yeah.
Paris, who is like the wise old woman of the tribe. She's also on Baba Voss's team.
She's a pretty big character.
She's a very big character, and also a pretty high up actress too. Alfie Woodard.
Yeah.
She's a well known actress.
I would say she's like the village
wise woman,
yeah. Witch doctor or whatever you want to call her.
She's a presage, so like she has like visions and
she talks to
talks
birds.
to animals and stuff
Well,
like that.
what's cool about these characters in the show, and including her, is like they all have their powers and they all legitimately work. It's like the Sentiers can smell stuff.
Yeah.
There's another one there's another one that's like, oh, I can tell that they have 60 horses and 200 men.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about the Sentiers too? If you look at them, they all have gauges in their nose to make their nostrils bigger.
Yeah.
And it's like
they really tried to sell us on how these people had like heightened other senses.
Yeah.
They can't see, but they can tell what's going on. So like they all kind of got like part of like Daredevil's powers.
One of my things about this show that I wish that they would have explained, and this just goes to the lack of world building that the show is guilty of, is I wish they would have made it clear that like this virus like is still out there and it's still being passed on among these people. So like they're all infected and it takes their sight, but it randomly like adjusts other senses, and that's why these people are able to do this. Because otherwise, it's just like normal people. It'd be like me just suddenly being like, "Oh, I can smell really good," you know? Like,
but it's
like it doesn't make any sense within the context of the show because they never bother to explain it.
I would argue that it would be like an evolutionary thing. So if you lose your sight, but then 4 generations down the line, your body would adapt.
I can see that.
That's kind of how I justify it.
To me.
Yeah. Okay. So the next character and the final character on our list is Boots.
And he's the worst.
And he is just, I hate him
so much. I hate him so much.
He's the worst character in this freaking show.
And like, I feel like when they were writing his dialogue, they were like, "Oh, fuck this guy," you know, because he like has this big moment where he like masterminds this whole plan to get the princess alone, and he's the only person that she has left, and she's like, "What do you want from me?" And he's like, "Just don't be mean to me."
Well, so Boots is one of the illegitimate children of
Jeremy Morrell, who's also sighted,
who abandoned him, and he has the gift of sight, and he eventually hooks up with Baba Voss and his crew because they run across him just randomly, and but he ends up being a far more ruthless character than he's initially kind of made out to be.
Yeah, he's made out to be like a sympathetic because he was abused most of his life by the people that were taking care of him. But then he kind of turns out to be a dick.
Yeah, like he made up this whole story about how his whole village abandoned him. It turns out he just like
murdered them all.
He killed most of them and imprisoned the rest of them, including his mother.
It's crazy. He's such a dirtbag.
Yeah.
But I wasn't really expecting.
Hate him so much.
I really hope he dies. Did he die at the end of this season?
No,
he's
still alive.
I hope he dies. All right. So anyway, that's Boots. All right. So before we get into the episode by episode breakdown, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back, everybody. All right, if you love what we do here, I know I said this before, but go to saltynerdclub.com, become a Patreon member, help us build the podcast, help support us. Any little bit helps, and you get exclusive access to a lot of really cool stuff, including the lost episode where we talk about this show, but then it broke us and we couldn't recover from it. So go there, saltynerdclub.com. We'd really appreciate the support. All right, so episode 1 is called Godflame, and the general synopsis is a journey of survival begins when an army of witchfinders attacks the village of Alkini. So this is like this opening scene is actually pretty freaking intense, but also doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Correct.
On the wall, right?
Yeah, so Jason Momoa leads his warriors to fight against the witch finders army. And there's like this giant rock wall, and they're all sitting there doing.
It's like 5 feet tall.
Yeah.
It's not giant.
Let's set the stage a little bit. So Gether Bax, the kind of traitor amongst the Alkini, once Magra came to their village and Juller Morrell left, Baba Voss married Magra because he couldn't have children of his own, and she was pregnant, so he wanted like children and stuff like that. So Gether Bax sends messages to the queen that, you know, there are witches in his village. She sends the Witchfinder General, and they're showing up here just as the twins are being born. And that's what we open up to. Like, there's not a whole lot of setup for what's happening. So we're just kind of thrust into the action.
You have to kind of catch up with this because you're getting introduced to all these characters in this first episode, but also everything's already happened.
Yes.
It's like, so throughout the season, you kind of have to pick up the pieces of the setup from before this and kind of just roll with it. We've
watched this series 3 times now.
Yes.
And it's just starting to make sense.
So anyway, so this big war, it's visually a lot of fun. And Jason Momoa is a badass, but also the whole time you're wondering, how are these blind people doing this? Because they're doing like a coordinated haka dance to get amped up for war, but you're like, how?
And also, why?
Yeah, because a haka dance is supposed to be visually intimidating to the opposing force, but they can't see you.
And also you'd think that they'd want to be quiet so that the opposing army doesn't know like how many there are or where they're at. Or
the tactics are a little wonky in this. So it just brings up a bunch of questions, but
I think it was just a cool thing that visually for the audience, it looks neat and it sounds neat, but it has no place in the show.
The whole problem with this show is that the actual reality of a blind society is not thought all the way through.
Correct.
Like they have like colored clothing, like
they have ornaments.
They have like jewelry. They do fashion stuff. It's like blind people wouldn't care.
They have tattoos.
You would think that blind people would place more importance on how they smell or like what they sound like
the feel of things.
And to get ready for war, Jason Momoa puts mud on his face.
Yeah, war paint.
What are you doing, bro? Like nobody can tell that you have war paint on.
And the mud would like kind of dull his like sense of smell and stuff like that. He wouldn't put it on there, but like all these people are doing these things that sighted people would do, and that's a problem throughout the entire series. Is that people who are writing it can see, and to make it visually interesting, they're doing all these visual things that blind people in a society full of blind people just wouldn't do.
Throughout the entire series, it's like all these people that are like in the same thing, in the same, they're like soldiers or members of this cast or whatever, they're all dressed the same.
Yeah.
It's like they have uniforms. Blind people would not have uniforms.
They would rely on smell and or sound.
It's bizarre.
Although, I mean, I guess you could say like you've got one guy in the village who makes all of the clothing and this is just
what he has to work with.
And this is what everybody in your tribe gets.
But
I'm allowing that.
But it's also like when you're making clothes and you're getting like cotton and stuff from the sheep, like wool, it's going to be gray. It's going to be like dirty white.
Yeah, everything has a different color.
Yeah, but and this like you have like blues and reds and pink, like stuff that would require dye.
And then at one point, I'm jumping ahead, but there's like an orgy party that everybody goes to from different tribes.
Oh, yeah, we'll get there.
And everybody's wearing the same color together.
They're all wearing white.
Yeah.
White robes. It's very strange.
To signify the innocence.
So there was one thing, like when I was watching this again for the second time, I was like, what would I have done if I was like producing this show? And I'm like, what would I do to kind of like amp up the idea that these people are blind, but they use other senses? And there was one fashion statement that I know we kind of made fun of, but Magra has like usually like an earpiece.
She has like a feathered ear cuff.
A feathered ear cuff. And I'm like, wouldn't it be freaking cool if like some of the warriors or some specific group of them had ear ornaments that would allow them to take in more sound?
Yeah.
Because like when you can't hear something, you put your ear up like this and you kind of get more sound into your ear canal.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be freaking dope if like a section of those people had freaking ear, designed ear cuffs or something like that?
When I think about stuff like that, I don't know what to think. Mostly because I know for a fact that this show had actual blind people as technical advisors for this show.
Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They hire extras and also blind people who like are, obviously can't see very well to ask them questions like, hey, if you were in this situation, what would you do? And I'm like,
I don't know that they told them everything that they
know. It's very strange.
Like there are things in the show, like, so everyone has these facial like scarring.
Oh yeah.
And
that's like kind of tattooed on their face. And they never explain why they do it. Like we theorize that like
it's tactile.
It's like people's names and like where they're from, like is put on their face. So like when people touch them, they get that information. Right. So like if you come across a body, you know who it is and like where they're from.
It's like I noticed on Kofun, he has scars on his cheeks.
Mm-hmm. And they actually show them doing that.
And they show him doing that, and the scars on one cheek are a little bit different than the scars on the other.
Yeah.
It's like they're like his age
Yeah.
or something like that.
But
you know?
that's all like conjecture on our
Right,
part. They
right,
never
right.
explain in the show why these facial tattoos are necessary.
Yeah.
So it's just weird.
So after the main battle in this episode, there's a scene that we kind of laughed at too, because
I love it when
Baba Voss is like, well, the battle's kind of being lost right now. We're being outnumbered. So he screams out like, break the wall or something like that along those lines.
One shot Voss.
Yeah, one shot Voss. He has this giant like cleaver of a freaking axe.
it's awesome.
It's a badass freaking weapon. But he hacks this rope, one rope, and it's holding up
It's
literally
holding the whole wall.
hundreds of
And
feet
it's not just
of
one
rock.
rope. It's like 1,000 ropes intertwined
Right.
together to hold up these rocks.
To hold up this big rock wall. And that's like his end all be all.
That's what you had a problem with that?
I just thought it was goofy. Like how did they
I
build that to
I did
begin
not.
with?
I did not have an issue with that.
How do you hold the
I
rock
did-
wall up?
I did have an issue with them building it in the first place.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But him busting it open like that did not.
No, it would have taken more than one swing.
I mean,
to cut
have you guys,
that thick
have
of
you
a
guys,
rope.
have you guys
Jason
ever like
Momoa.
cut something with like under super tension like that? It doesn't take a lot. It
I don't know.
really
If
does
it
not
was
take a
strong
lot.
enough to keep that wall up, it would have taken at least a
No,
couple swings.
no, I agree. I agree.
It was
with you.
anchored to a tree.
Yeah.
It was
Big
just
ass
wrapped
tree.
around a
Yeah,
big ass tree.
but the entire first action sequence where the Alkini are fighting against the Witchfinders guys, like the fighting is so unbelievable from a blind person's standpoint. Like people are like tackling each other, but it's like, how do they know who's who? You know, there's no setup, there's no explanation, there's nothing that we as an audience are given to make this scene believable.
Yeah.
It's just like look at Jason Momoa being a badass and thank us for
Which
that.
is fun.
It's like when he does a
It was
haka.
fun.
Yeah.
He does a haka dance.
Yeah. We talked about that.
Which is about intimidating your enemy visually.
Yeah.
That's what a haka is for.
I mean, that's what dancing is.
You know
Yeah.
what
It's
we
a
visual
haven't
thing.
done?
It's
We haven't
weird.
watched this with our eyes closed yet. Maybe it's still intimidating if you're not looking
But
at it.
That
But
masturbation
anyway,
scene's
it
gonna
was
be weird.
it was something. I mean,
Yeah.
there's things that are like, okay, I can see blind people doing that. To this whole show, I can see there's something.
There's elements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's other things I'm like, I don't buy that.
So
At all.
the
Yeah,
fight takes place. They collapse the wall. They take out like a quarter of the army of the Witchfinders, and then they run off back to the village. And they're like, guys, we got to book it because we're gonna get it killed. And the big argument is like, we literally built this place in an area where there's only one way in or out. Like that was the strategic element to having this village here. Turns out Jorah Morrell had built a bridge crossing a cavern that nobody else knew about.
Because blind people can't build bridges.
Yeah, because blind people can't build. And
and
they're all
also,
like,
no one heard him doing that.
yeah, nobody heard him doing it. Nobody knew it was there. Nobody had explored and been like, hey, what's this rope they were doing here? Nobody knew. Even they actually argued that it didn't exist. They're like, there's absolutely no way anybody could do that.
Yeah.
And who was it that convinced him? Was it Paris?
Yeah.
Paris was like, I know.
Joel Morrell, for some reason, liked Paris. And so he like gave her a bunch of secrets to like safeguard.
Secret ropes with secret messages on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, so they gathered the village and they're like, follow us. We're going to get out of here before the Witchfinder finds us. At this point in time, Magra gives birth to both babies. And they're like, we got to get these babies out of here. Get them prepared to travel. And I'm like, I don't know how you get a freaking newborn ready to travel, but sure. They get out of there. They go to this.
It's been 400 years. Society adapts.
Like literal newborns. Like
Yeah.
30 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And Magra's up and running around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's up carrying. She's carrying both the babies, just booking it, going for it. I'm
Yeah,
like,
and there's even a
all right.
scene where Paris is basically the
The midwife?
the midwife,
Mhm.
and when the second baby's coming, she's like, "Get me a knife."
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you're
Give me a sharp knife because this baby's coming out feet first, and I'm like, what are you gonna do?
What?
It was-
Yeah, and,
Sure, it's fine.
And
Yeah.
Magra's just up and running the next scene.
Yeah, that's
It's
good.
Fine.
Don't worry about the knife. All right, so they get out. They cross this bridge, which is kind of an event because the Witchfinders are literally right behind them. And there's this moment where the Witchfinder he has to stay completely still and listen for who's on the other side of the cavern. And I think the babies cry.
Yeah.
And he's like, there they are. So they start sending his soldiers over the rope bridge.
Well,
Bob-
first they send Gether
Getherback's such a piece of shit. He's like,
He's a
help.
piece of work.
He's like, please help me. Don't leave me behind. And Baba Voss is like, all right, cool. Yeah, you can come across.
He actually says, you bastards left me behind. You were with them.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy is like the Witchfinder treats him so badly, and yet he's still like, I want the Witchfinder to come get us.
It's one of those cases of where like, I want Baba Voss to lose so badly that I don't care who I have to work with for that to happen.
I actually really bought into those two characters, into him and his
Got their backs. Well, listen,
because they were just the normal weird people who bought into the whole religious bullshit.
Not just that though.
And it's like, okay,
I get his motivation for wanting Baba Voss dead, because if you listen to the story, Baba Voss comes out of nowhere. Nobody knows who he is. And he just takes over as like the leader of the clan.
He's a badass.
And the only one who says, yeah, maybe we don't know enough about this guy is Gutherbax's mom. And Baba Voss immediately burns her at the stake.
It's kind of a dick move.
Kind of a dick move. So I get it, man. You know, I don't like the character. He's a douchebag, but I get it.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it. I understand. So is that basically the end of that episode? I think not much else happens.
Well, there's the whole praying thing.
Well, yeah, we talked about that already.
Talked about it.
And they find their sanctuary with the tires and the
Well, that's the second episode.
No, that's this episode.
That's this one?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's the end of the first episode.
They get all the way to the end.
So
they make it to their new sanctuary.
Morrell left like a trail for them to follow, which are just, sticks with ropes with knots in them.
Ropes and a stick.
And that's how this society kind of communicates. Instead of books, they have these like knotted ropes, and a special knot is like a different like syllable. So like that's how they like kind of.
We've got a visual representation of it.
But they get to New Alchemy, which is like where Joel and Morrell set them up by a lake and fresh water, and there's like all these piles of like tires and water bottles.
So I googled it real quick,
stuff.
and it takes tires 50 to 80 years to decompose.
That's it.
That's it.
Oh my god,
we did this.
Yeah, we did.
None of that shit that they use would be around.
Yeah, because there's like 2x4s. There's a stack of 2x4s. There's a stack of freaking tires. There's like tin ceilings or tin roofs. It's so weird.
I feel like the creators of this show, there's a huge difference between like the commitment of the creators of the show and the actors, because the actors are giving us 110% commitment, but they're committing to this like half-assed story, and it's so bonkers in my head.
It's so weird. All right, so the next episode is called Message in a Bottle. And it says tensions arise. This is one of the things I did a little bit of math live while we were recording.
Yes.
Tensions arise in the group when the twins receive a special gift and Baba Voss fights a bear. The badass fight, I will say that. But Baba Voss,
the whole setup for that fight was stupid.
It's so dumb. So I think it's the opening scene for this episode, right? He's out just like wandering around with both babies.
Well, like he's exploring their new area, but he brought like the
twins,
newborns with him. It's like, dude, you don't bring the newborns with you when you're out exploring a strange area.
Yeah, he had him in like a crate. And he's turning a corner. Everything's all hunky-dory. He turns his corner, and there's a bear literally right there. And it like tries to bite him. And he jumps back, trips, drops the babies, literally drops them.
Yeah. Like there's even a scene where he's like, please be alive.
Yeah, he's like, oh shit, please be alive. I can't believe he's listening.
I'm in so much trouble.
He's listening for them to not be dead. He's like, are you crying? Are you crying? And then he hears them whimper, and he's like, oh, okay, they're still alive. He doesn't know if they're could be brain dead for that matter. But anyway, he gets to fight a bear, which again, Jason Momoa being a badass is like 90% of this show for me.
Yeah.
So that was a cool scene because he like jumps up there and starts freaking stabbing it, and he's fighting the bear, and then Jason Morrell shows up with a bow and arrow.
And it turns out Jason Morrell has been just hunting the bears in the area.
Yeah, he said
in case this might have happened.
Yeah. He's like, I've been killing all the bears in the valley, like
so they want to attack you. It's like, okay, bro.
Sorry about that one.
Yeah, I missed.
Got him,
I think that was the last one. We're good.
Yeah, he literally says, I think that's the last one.
I think that's the last bear. He one shot kills it with a bow and arrow. Amazing.
Everybody's amazing at target practice.
Oh my God. So they have a short conversation about like, Jason Morrell's like, hey, I want you to name my kids Kofun and what was the other one?
Haniwa.
Haniwa and Kofun.
I have such a hard time with her name.
Like, could you not have made simpler names?
He doesn't even, I don't even know why. There's no explanation.
Yeah. He just pulled that out of his ass. Name them Haniwa and Kofun.
How about Adam and Eve?
And Momoa is just like, okay. It's like, why am I letting you name my kids?
I know, right?
I know. I would have been like, why are you? I already named them.
But he says, name them this so I know in the future when they come back to me, like.
But again, no explanation as to why he picked those names.
Yeah.
But so that kind of happens, and then the show develops, the episode develops, and one of my favorite things is Gutherbax is still trying to.
He's such a dick.
He's such a dick.
He's the worst.
Still trying to rat out the community that just saved his life, even though because he's so mad at Jason Momoa.
I know, right?
So he starts sending these little rope ties, similar to what Vader's wearing right now. These little rope ties. He's sending them out.
bottle.
Messages in a bottle. He puts them in plastic bottles. And he says, I send one every day.
Every day.
And then later on in the episode,
it's 20 years. It's 17 years later.
Smash cuts, and it has a title card. It says 17 years later, and he's still sending them out every single day.
It traveled a whole 2 miles.
And nobody was like,
downstream.
Hey, that pile of water bottles is who's using all the water bottles?
You'd think they'd have dammed up the river at a certain point.
So I did the math on that.
So 2 miles upstream, there's this weird encampment.
And it takes 17 years for that message to get to the queen.
Well, who's going to see it? Like, oh, there's a water bottle floating down the river.
You make a great point.
It's just like by chance.
Talk about the math, Alex.
So I did the math 2 years ago. I did the math on this episode while we were talking about it. I'm like, how many bottles of water is that? It was like 13,000 bottles of water that he would have had to have tied a rope to and sent it downstream.
It's not even bottles of water. It's just plastic bottles.
Just plastic bottles.
Oh my God.
Hundreds of years after this.
Where does he get all that string from?
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, no kidding.
That was another thing. We just kind of laughed like, this show makes no sense.
No sense.
Doesn't make any sense. Does anybody else have anything to say about this episode?
I do, because I feel like, so, you know, Bubba Voss knows that his kids are in danger.
Yeah.
And you would think that during this episode where, you know, instead of doing like a jump cut to 17 years later where the twins are kind of like grown up, you would show, like, you would take this opportunity as a writer, as a storyteller, to have Bubba Voss be training his kids to fight and to, you know, use their other senses, because he doesn't know how to, you know, use sight. But that would be a way to explain to the audience, okay, here are our fighting tactics. Here's why we do the things we do.
Here's how everyone else in the tribe knows how to do this, and this.
Yeah, here's why we put these tattoos on your face and all this other stuff.
Yes.
Like, if they had just used this episode to set all that stuff up, the rest of the season would have been fine, because we would have known what the rules of this world were.
Yeah.
But they never bothered.
Because the two kids who are just being born and are introduced to this world would be the audience.
Yeah.
They would be the surrogate audience. So like, here's the fish out of water. Here's how to explain it.
They're like, we can see. Why do we need to learn how to fight with a blindfold on? And he's like, you need to learn how to use your ears and use your senses and stuff like that.
They could be super badass kids.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a great point, Kadish. All right,
and then they would have been super kids.
They would have been super awesome. Yeah, and they would have had like a leg up in the rest of the society, and then we would have been more likely to want to follow them.
And Kofun wouldn't have been totally useless in a fight.
Oh, God, he's such a piece of crap.
And because Jason Momoa didn't bother to train his kids, these kids are idiots.
Well, they were too busy reading War and Peace up on top of a waterfall.
They did have to teach themselves how to read.
Yeah, they did teach themselves based off of string.
The funniest thing is when like they're going through the box with all the books and they're trying to figure out what they
They're
are.
smelling it.
Oh my gosh, how can you learn things from bark? And they're like smelling through the pages
from dead trees.
500-year-old books.
And also they had it like
we're in a Yeti cooler.
Driller Morrell had it stacked so that, like, you know, the basic stuff was at the top and the more advanced stuff was at the bottom. So like as the twins consumed it, they'd figure it out. But like Bubba Voss and Magra just like messed up the top completely.
Don't get them out of order, man.
The first thing that they read is a rope that says, don't mess the order up. This is in a top to bottom order. Right. And the first thing they do is dive into it and start tossing books out.
From a Dr. Seuss. M is for
it's like ABCs,
down to
like Shakespeare
George
or some shit.
Orwell,
and also in this episode, we see like the Witchfinder like going to great lengths to try to find these people, and he's like shoving knives in people's ears and like all this like crazy stuff.
Ruthless.
I love
and he like he's really trying to find them, and he's spreading the word of Joel Morrell. It's like, you know, like this is the guy I'm looking for, and in addition to that, like
if you were Joel Morrell, wouldn't you just be like, my name's Dave? Nope, I don't know any. Joel, what?
Listen,
I've always been Dave.
My biggest issue to this whole thing is why Joel Morrell didn't just go like up and shank Tamakta June at any point whatsoever.
I don't know, dude.
During the entire 20 years.
Well, don't you remember Tamakta June's little speech to Boots where he's like, you know, like, don't think that your sight gives you advantage over me.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Yeah, I know.
Is that right before Boots kills him?
Yeah, well
pretty close. Yeah,
Especially when you have things like guns
Right, he does.
And bows and arrows.
And bows and arrows and rifles. And it's absolute.
Well, even
we should also point out that we get to learn more about Queen Kane in this episode, where basically she executes someone with the power of the electricity that the dam generates. We find out that her rule is directly tied to like her control over the dam.
It's very
it's weird. So they reside. Queen Kane resides in an abandoned dam. Which still has running turbines, which still gives them power, but they don't use it.
Well, no, they do use it.
They only use it to kill people.
To play records.
No, they use the electricity to like run all this ancient stuff, like heating for the winter and stuff like that. So the people in the village below are dependent upon the electricity that the dam gives them.
Oh, okay. I never got that.
Well, yeah, they kind of don't really explain it very well, but that's like the thing. Like they use all these weird words to call electricity and power and stuff like that.
Like, I am the goddess of the power of the things that power the stuff that does the power of the gods that does the electricity.
And back at New Alkeny, like Magra is very much against the idea of sight. She's kind of like, she's not quite as fervent as her sister is against it, but she tries to teach her children that sight is a bad thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Paris is diametrically opposed to this, and Baba Voss is just kind of like, I don't fucking care. So like you have this like weird kind of like power struggle here, and then Paris ends up kind of eventually winning this when she like reveals the books to the grown children, and they start to learn to read and like discover all this knowledge that no one else in their village has access to.
Yeah. All right. So the next episode, which might be my favorite one,
it's the best of the season.
It's Fresh Blood.
This is episode 3.
This is Sex Orgy, episode 3. So a stillborn baby.
This is the episode that broke the podcast.
Yes, this is the one that broke. This is where we stopped. I was like, I can't freaking do this anymore. So a stillborn baby in the tribe causes them to travel to a sex orgy to get new blood into the tribe.
That's because Gether and Suitor have been banging each other.
Yes.
But they're like real closely related to each other.
Yeah, they're like brother and sister.
And they're shocked when their baby is still
They don't understand.
They don't understand.
Well, it's not just stillborn. It's also like deformed.
They blame witches.
Yes, witches are the fault.
Yes.
And then
and Baba Voss is just like, oh, it might just be that you're banging your aunt.
Yeah.
He does say that too. And then Henoa is like, it's just basic genetics. I don't understand why these people are so stupid.
Because they're book smart.
She's kind of like, she looks down on these people.
Oh,
she's like,
for sure does.
I'm way better.
And like she goes out foraging with Baba Voss, and she's using her bow to like get turkey and like deer and stuff like that.
And he's like making gobble.
He does.
Like it really made me think like while these blind people are traveling, like how do they forage? How do they hunt? Like it doesn't make any sense.
There's a moment in one of these episodes where Baba Voss is like, you guys stay here. I'll be back. I'm going to go hunt something.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I'm going to go kill something for us to eat.
What are you going to hunt?
Yeah, there's no deer out there that's going to let somebody sneak up on them with an axe.
Also, like when you're hunting stuff, you're looking for like tracks. Like it's a visual thing that you're tracking down an animal.
I'm just going to assume that it's a smelling thing.
It's got
it might just be like they set traps around and then they go and check the traps. But like this would be stuff that we as an audience would like to know because otherwise it's ridiculous.
Like at one point we see Suitor, she's fishing. And she's got like a big net that she's trying to catch something in.
I could see the fishing thing.
Fishing, I can do fishing.
But in terms of foraging, like if you go out, how do you find like the berries? And how do you know the berries aren't poisonous? Like
smell.
You hold them up to your aura, and she intunes.
It's like
she has a dream whether or not they're
it's like that scene from Norseman where they're like, well, this one kind of looks like that one.
Oh, yeah.
You taste it and see what happens.
Yeah.
That should be okay. If it's not, well, no, I guess you're in a little while.
Yeah.
We'll just wait an hour, and if you're okay, then it's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah, does each village have a taster that like does their job?
As a guy who was dragged out into the woods to go deer hunting when I was younger, I mean, I don't have any problem with people who go deer hunting. It's just not for me.
Okay.
But getting within 200 yards of them fucking things.
It's really hard.
It's no blind dude's ever going to do that.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
So
it's not going to happen.
They travel to the sex orgy. Baba Voss forbids the twins from coming. He's like, you guys need to stay here.
You're
because
too young.
It's
as a village, they agree to go to this gathering that Magra somehow knows about.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I know how to get fresh blood.
And she also knows where it is.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
And then she's like, there's an orgy party. It happens to be next weekend. And I know exactly how to get there.
Oh, yeah, the orgy party happens every year. It's a big deal.
It's freaking like
You guys haven't heard of the orgy party? Oh my God. You're such a small clan.
It's EDC for blind people.
That's basically what it is.
Basically what it is.
It's for sure Burning Man because they burn a bunch of people
Yeah.
We're gonna
right
dance.
before the orgy because nothing gets me amped like smelling dead flesh.
carcasses.
Yeah. We're going to dance
So
and
they-
we're going to bang.
They travel, they get there. The twins, against the wishes of their parents, go and follow them. And they're like, they'll never know we're here because they can't see
I kind
us.
of thought was cool.
Yeah, but
Because
then
these stupid blind people, they'll never know we're following us.
And they're all like, we're going to get to see the world.
yeah, but it's like a mile and a half away.
But then the dipshit gets captured.
And so this is the
But
worst
it's
part.
a blind guy.
This is the worst part. So Kofun, he gets sickened by the sight of people burning other people.
Because of the Witchfinder General's, like, spreading the word. Basically, there are people at this festival who burn other people that they think have the power of sight.
Yeah.
And so Kofun and Hanawa both witnessed this.
And Hannah was screaming, I can see them! They're blind! And bitch, shut up.
Yeah. Kofun has to be like, don't let these people know that you can see.
Yeah.
They're literally burning people they think can see.
So dumb. Anyway, Kofun is a useless piece of crap. So he goes to cry in a corner after seeing some people die.
He holes up in like an abandoned car.
Yeah, and then he sits there long enough for a group of blind slavers to come up and sneak up on him. And then before he can run away and or scream for help, they cover his mouth, kidnap him, tie him up, and take him away.
He's literally snuck up upon and kidnapped by blind people.
Yeah, it's genius. So when in the morning, it takes all night for anybody to realize that he's missing. In the morning, Hanawa goes. Hakuna Matata goes to Baba Voss and Magra and is like, oh my God, we followed you here. And by the way, your son just got kidnapped by slavers.
Yeah, apparently the slavers snuck into the camp at night after they'd had their orgy.
They took a bunch of people.
And kidnapped a bunch of people.
Young people.
To sell into slavery.
Because I guess you bring your kids to the orgy.
Well, it's young.
Yeah.
It's young childbearing age.
What am I going to leave my kids at home?
That's how you get some fresh DNA mixed into the.
Sure.
You need some fresh blood up in your life.
Need
Whatever.
some fresh jizz.
some strange.
So this is the moment. So like Magra is the only one who doesn't know that the kids can read and write and have been educated by Jeremy Morrell's box of books. This is the moment where it gets revealed because they're tracking down the slavers. Baba Voss kind of tracks him. He goes, I feel a fire. They were here not that long ago. And Hanawa is like, hey, there's a message written on the door right here. It says it's from him, and he says, I'm fine, just follow the trail. And Magra's like, what did you just say?
Well, the crazy thing is that so we see Kofun being kind of like shuffled along with the rest of the slaves, and they're all tied to this rope. and as a blind person, like if your hands are tied and you can't see the knot that is kind of holding you, you can't figure out a way to get out of it. But he could literally look at like his hands being bound and figure out a way to get out of it.
He could have untied himself at any time.
Like, I think that we're like as we're talking about this, we're like, oh, he got snuck up by blind people, and oh, he can see, so he should have been able to do that. But the thing is, like, it's not that blind people can't be sneaky or sneak up on people or kidnap someone. It's that these two people should be so super powered in this universe that the fact that they keep finding themselves in these situations is so absurd.
I agree. I totally agree.
Like you can literally have your hands tied behind your back and still get out of it, like without seeing the knot. And yet he can actually see the knot and still can't get out of it.
And so in addition to while all this stuff is going on with the sex orgy, Queen Kane is back at Kanzua, and the Witchfinder General returns after 20 years. Mm-hmm. And he brings her all these slaves and taxes and stuff like that. But he also says that he failed to find, Jill and Morrell and the twins. And so he's like, I went to every village, I spread the word. And she's like, you told them his name? Mm-hmm. And we're like, wait, how is he supposed to find a guy if he didn't tell people the name? And so the queen is so outraged that he failed that she orders him to kill himself.
She allows him to kill himself.
Yeah. And this is the first time that we're introduced to the whole kneeling thing where like he kneels in her presence to show respect. And it's like, again, that's a visual representation of respect.
And not only I think the previous episode when they killed those two people for some reason, she has like a big crown on her head.
Yeah.
She does.
And it's like, why are you wearing a crown?
People can't see that.
Again, another visual representation.
Maybe she just likes the way it feels on her head.
Yeah, like the queen has these like little bell things that she wears.
That
on her
works.
And the
That works.
snapping.
and that, like when she does that, like you know, everyone knows like, oh, that's the royal sound, because I'm guessing that only royalty uses bells because they're so hard to make in this society. But you know, wearing a crown and wearing like all the opulent dresses and stuff like that, that's not something that the society would
She has
do.
her nails done.
Yeah. Is this the episode where Baba Voss goes ham on a bunch of people?
Yes.
Oh,
yes. So
best
that's
frickin'.
the end of this, and that's what makes this episode great.
Yeah. So real quick before we have to take a break, Baba Voss tracks down where his son is being kept. And he's like, listen, guys, you're not going to want to see this side of me. This is a part of my past that I buried. But
Turns out he used to be a
I
slaver.
used to be a slaver. I know where they're going. And I'm a freaking badass with this blade. So
You thought I was a badass before.
with a hatchet.
Wait till you get a load of me now.
So the fight scene where Baba Voss goes to rescue Kofun, that was the more realistic.
Right.
Like I could see blind people in a
Yeah,
blind
he's like
society
he's
fighting,
throwing
like this.
rocks and pebbles on the ground
it's
to get
so
like
clever.
to get
and
echoes.
like everyone's using their weapons to kind of feel out around them, like what the terrain is, and like this was the best scene in the entire series, in my opinion.
There's this
I agree.
one part of this fight scene where this dude with a whip or rope grabs a hold of Baba Voss with the whip, and this is the freaking best move in the whole thing, where he uses somebody else's body and replacing him. The rope goes around that guy's body. He then uses that rope and follows it with his sword up to the dude who's holding it, and then slices his neck. And I'm like,
awesome.
God damn!
And then he goes all the way.
He goes all the
around.
way around it. That's like his signature move. He's like slices all the way around your neck.
He makes sure that he got every bit.
Yeah.
Well, it's very like, so every enemy he goes to, it's like a tactile touch first, and then like once he knows where the guy is at, he's able to like kill him.
Yeah.
And then like he'll like listen, and he hears the guy running, he'll like fling his sword, and it like hits the guy. Like there's a lot of stuff in this scene, in this fight scene, that is believable, that
So well
that
thought
a
out.
blind warrior would
So
do.
well choreographed.
And I was like, why wasn't the initial battle in the first episode against the Witchfinder General's army like this? Like you'd think everyone would be fighting like this.
Yeah,
And they
exactly.
didn't.
All right, guys, before we move on to the next episode, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, guys, welcome back. If you want to chat about this episode or this show with us, go to our Discord app, saltynerddiscord.com. I'm going to set up a C chat room. And we can,
and we're going to be talking about season 2.
Yeah.
Episode by episode.
So there's going to be spoilers and stuff, but go to the app and hang out with us. All right, so the next episode in the lineup is called The River. It says, after getting a message in a bottle, we're talking about Queen Kane, she gets a message in a bottle from Gatherbacks.
Yeah, one of his bottles finally found
17 years later,
Did
it
he
works.
say 1 a day, or did he say 3 a day?
Maybe 3, I don't remember.
I think it was
No,
something.
it was 1 a day.
It was
Are you
1 a day for
sure?
17 years.
Okay.
That's 13,000 days.
I think that's only like 7,000 or something.
I don't know.
I'm-
It's been 2
Anyway.
years since I've done the math.
Yeah.
Eventually, his plan worked. His message got to Queen Kane. She knows where the Alkini are, and she sends Tamak to June, which is he's about to kill himself. She stops him and says, No. Your job is not done yet.
It's not over.
And he's like, oh, good. I don't have to die. So he goes and takes off and takes his army back and tracks down where Baba Voss
He seemed a
are.
little bummed out that he didn't get to
I think
die.
he was just tired of dealing with this bitch. So he goes there and they find out where the tribe is. He's getting ready to attack. Baba Voss somehow knows that they're there. He hears them.
He hears the dogs.
He hears the dogs and the horses.
Which is reasonable.
Because the bad guy army, they use trained dogs and horses to help lead them to where they're going,
I
apparently.
mean,
I don't know how you train
bad
him,
guys always have dogs.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
So Baba Voss hears this and he's like, oh shit, we got to go. He takes his family, and the only people that can leave are his family. I can't remember why.
No,
What's
they're
stuck?
the only ones that choose to leave.
Yeah, the tribe is like, no, screw you,
The
dude.
rest of them are a bunch of assholes.
Yeah.
And
Well-
they decide
well,
to stay and die.
Gether and Suitor convince them that the Witchfinder will show them mercy. They just want the witches.
Yeah,
And Baba Voss, Magra, the twins,
like
Paris,
a handful of others.
and like Beau Lyon, and then 2 others loyal
there's
to
like
Baba
2
Voss
others,
decide to leave.
Yeah.
And Baba Voss leads them to
a boat.
A boat that he built over the course of 17 years at a river. Now, what's interesting about this is that in the box where all the books were, Jill and Morrell left the twins some toys as well. One of their favorite toys was a boat. And Boba Voss basically, he's never built a boat before, but he used that toy to figure out how to build a larger version of it. And so they're sailing away on a large version of the toy that Jill Morrell left the twins.
And one of the things he says too, lines is like, anything that Jill Morrell can do, I can do bigger.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, dude. Sure you can.
Dude,
but anyway.
Baba Voss is a badass.
He is a badass.
You don't mess with Baba Voss.
I love him.
But he secretly spent 17 years building a raft.
Yeah.
Just in case this day ever came.
That took him
I think
2 miles down the river.
I know you're getting there, but the scene where they go down the river.
That's what, we're talking about it right now.
I think is my favorite scene almost in this entire series.
Oh, dude. So Baba Voss got him and his family and a handful of other people.
It actually made sense to me.
On the boat, they're slowly creeping down the river, and Tamakta Jun and his army is surrounding both banks of the river. Right. And they're like, we know you're there. And they've got these weird like whistle rope things.
Yeah, which makes sense, right?
Why? What is that for?
It kind of like if they're long enough, you'd be able to like smack something.
Talk to your microphone, bro.
If they're long enough, you'd be able to like smack something they would hit something that was going through.
Guess, but that's not what they used them for.
Or change the frequency of
the river,
of the sound that it's reverberating back.
The whole river scene infuriated me because it didn't make any sense.
I thought it made a lot of sense.
But also, well, I mean, like they're wading out into the water, but the raft already has a head start on them. So how do they catch up with that?
Yeah,
they're throwing these ropes with like grappling hooks on them to try to catch them. It's like, where do they know where to do this? And plus, the boat has 2 sighted people on it. So why couldn't they just take the hooks off and or protect the boat from like the people who are swimming?
So
they kind of did.
I think
no, they didn't.
But Kofun's useless.
Kofun was completely useless.
Kofun is useless.
But the chick had a bow and arrow.
But she'd never taken a life before.
No, that's not true.
Is that not true?
In episode 3, she killed a guy.
She killed that dude.
Okay, well, she didn't like to take people's lives.
Well, she got over that quick.
But I think there was like a weird
I don't know. I was because she had the arrow trained on on Tamakta Jun, but I think she didn't want to shoot him because I think she thought it would give away their position.
No. So here's the thing. So basically, Tamakta Jun goes to the village. He kills all the villagers except for Gether Bax.
He hadn't killed anybody yet.
Well, he killed Beau Lyon's mom, and Gether Bax was a captive of Baba Voss in order to escape the village. They let him go, and then the Witchfinder captures him, takes him to the river, and as they're going away, so they lost 2 of their party to the Witchfinder's soldiers. One was like Baba Voss's right-hand guy who'd been with them since the beginning. And Kofun basically like mucks up everything. Like there are people boarding the boat. Magra gets stabbed in the leg, and Kofun's just sitting there like, I don't know what to do. and so like basically Hanawa ran out of arrows because she was like shooting so many people around the boat. And as they're getting away, she sees Gether Bax with the Witchfinder General. And so she pulls an arrow out of a body that's on the boat, and she takes aim. And it's hard to say whether she was aiming for Gether Bax or the Witchfinder General, but the arrow hits Gether Bax. As they're sailing away, they think that she's killed him. He's still alive. The Witchfinder General asks him where the river goes. Gether Bax tells him in exchange for agreeing to save his life. And then the guy, Tamakta Jun, just like basically like kills him and says like it's quicker this way.
Yeah, here's my mercy.
And then he says, go to the village and kill everyone.
Yeah. All right, so that's kind of pretty much what happens in the episode. They make their way down the river.
Well, they decide to follow Jill Morrell's clues for the twins that he left behind.
Yeah.
And because now they have no place left to go back to, they end up running up onto shore, and they camp there for the night. And when they wake up, all their possessions have disappeared. And they think that, well, Hanawa and Kofu both see someone in the distance, and they think that somebody just came in and stole their stuff. And that's where the episode ends.
Yeah. And then the next episode is called Plastic. And Tamakta Jun's army nears Baba and family. Magra's past comes to light, and she must deal with her past indiscretions. Queen Kane destroys her city because the people hate her. So we kind of pick up where we left off in the last episode where their possessions are missing. We have to go find them.
So this is where we meet Boots.
Yeah, Boots, this guy, this piece of shit.
The worst.
You don't like Boots?
I hate Boots.
He's kind of
He's a dick. But no, Baba Voss and his 2 kids or adopted kids go and they find this like shabby town just filled with like recycled plastic. And it's the whole city.
It's like a hoarder's.
Yeah, the whole city is just built out of trash. It's just like buildings that are kind of shaped together with recycling trash. I think that's why it's called plastic.
Probably.
Anyway, so they go there and they, which one is it? The chick. What's her name? Haniwa goes down there. She's like, I can sneak in, grab our stuff, and get out.
Or first, Magra insists that they go and look for their stolen stuff because the rest of the tribe is just like, we don't need that stuff.
Yeah,
we
they're
can
like,
replace it. But she's like, no. Like before she evacuated, she dug up something from underneath the floor.
She has like a little pouch that has something secret in it.
And she's like, I need that back. You don't understand how important it is to me.
Yeah.
And so like they decide to risk their lives, the twins and Baba Voss, in order to get this back for their mother. But they don't know, like she won't tell them why it's so important.
Yeah. So Haniwa goes in there, finds the stuff, but then Boots, which we don't know is Boots yet, but it's just like this creepy figure that's like staring at her.
Wearing a mask.
Wearing a big old freaking cool headdress mask. He actually did look kind of creepy in that episode. Like,
yeah, but who's he going to intimidate?
You're not supposed to think about that. And so anyway, so she gets captured by him or knocked out, and then Baba Voss and the useless kid goes down there. Kofun goes down there and tries to rescue her, and a big fight takes place. And then they slowly realize that he is also sighted, which can only mean one thing.
He's the son of Jerry Morrell.
Son of Jerry Morrell. And they're like, hey, we're brothers and sisters. He has a big scar on his chest that has like an eye with an arrow going through it.
Only Jerry Morrell knows.
Yeah, because apparently he scarred his kid or something. Is that what they were trying to say?
knows,
No,
man?
he left before the kid was born, right?
I don't know.
It's not clear.
But he has a giant scar that indicates that he can see, which maybe the people that he was living with did it.
It's like
to
Jerry
him.
Morrell's symbol, which is an eye with a spear through it.
Yeah. I don't know why that's your symbol, but anyway.
Because it's cool.
Because nobody else can see it except for sighted people.
Yeah. We should also explain that in the previous episode, so the royalty of Kanzua got fed up with Queen Kane's antics, and so they plotted to kill her in the most stupid way possible.
It's so dumb.
And Queen Kane has like her own shadow who like spies on like the lords, and so like she found out about this, and so she has all of the betrayers slaughtered. And all these people were very popular with the masses. And so the masses are starting to rise up against her. And she looks at them as ungrateful. And so she basically shuts down the dam. And at the end of the last episode...
Because the gods told her to.
Yeah. At the end of the last episode, she shuts down all like the hydroelectric stuff. And because it's so old, it's not able to withstand the pressure from the water.
Yeah.
And so it starts breaking down. And at the beginning of this episode... basically the dam breaks, wipes out all of Kanzua, like the entire village, and Queen Kane gets away in a
tank
carriage. In a carriage that is being driven by a blind guy. So it's
with a horse. Yeah. Blind guy and a horse. So there was one thing you mentioned, the assassination attempt. I was laughing so hard during this freaking scene because it's so dumb. Like these people are like, oh, we found this rare bird that nobody has ever touched before. You will be the first human hand to touch it. And I'm like, how did you get it in the freaking cage?
Yeah, and it's a poisonous spider.
It's a poisonous spider, but I'm like, how did you get it in the cage? You're telling this woman that nobody's ever touched it before, but it's in a cage. And she knows that they're trying to assassinate her, so she's just playing along just for whatever's sake. And she's like, oh, that's weird. I thought birds chirped and made noise. And they're like, well, not this one. Only if you hold it. And it's just, they kept leading her on in like the most dumbest way possible.
It was like they were saying, we're not trying to kill you. Honest.
Yeah.
And
no, for sure we're not trying to kill you.
And one of the most aggravating parts about this episode is when she's fleeing Kanzua, she's going down this hallway where they have these perfectly made busts of the previous kings, like perfectly sculpted in stone. Weird. And like she stops and like she touches her dad's face and she like has like a final message to him. But I'm like, what blind person was able to make these like realistic sculptures of previous
sculptors?
Kings?
Sure. We talked about this a little bit.
Lionel Richie in the video for Hello, he's a sculptor.
Man, if Ray Charles can play the piano blind, There's a lot of things that are possible.
The piano is different, but to get the detail of like how accurate these busts were, like you needed someone who could see to do that.
I'm willing to allow it because there's so much else that I'm just like, it's in your face.
You skip the fact that at the end of Plastic, Tamaktajune's army catches up with Baba Voss and the family.
And now we find out what was in that pouch.
Oh, that's the big reveal. Yeah.
That
Okay.
Magra wanted them to get.
Yeah, so basically Magra, as the army's kind of like hunting the family through the woods, Magra leaves them and takes this pouch, and it's one of the royal bells, like ding-a-ling-a-ling symbol things. And she goes to confront Tamaktajune and basically reveals herself as the princess of Kanzua. And once Tamaktajune finds out who she really is, he bows before her and then yells at his army to show her respect.
And they all bow.
Says, show respect. Show.
And everybody else bows.
And everybody, the whole army.
The entire blind army bows. And it's
she gets sensitive. Echolocation.
So like it was kind of like a cool reveal for Magra, but at the same time, like you're just sitting there like, why is this so stupid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did like the
I
reveal.
would think that they would all like start like raise their hand and like ring a bell on their finger or something.
Well, she did do that.
Them,
yeah.
They could have
Them,
started snapping or clapping.
Or pound their chest or something.
Yeah.
Something. I mean,
an audio representation of respect.
Right. A blind society, everything would be audio, right?
Yeah.
So
like the Alkini have the whole Chet Chet thing. You'd think that the army would have like something like that where they would have like a call to show respect.
We never explained that. Yeah, if you guys hear us saying Chet Chet, so like the Alkini Baba Voss, if he's like checking on his friends or his army, he goes Chet Chet, and they all respond as Chet Chet Chet. They say it 3 times back. And it's just supposed to like cue in that they're all on the same page.
And then when he's passing out weapons, it's Chet Chet. Chet Chet.
Yeah.
Chet Chet.
Like everything cool? We good? Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
So that explains that.
I'm so happy right now. Me and Peekaboo are vibing.
All right. So the next episode, Silk. After escaping the destruction of her city, Queen Kane gets captured by Silk traders, and Baba and his family are betrayed and have to seek their vengeance against Boots. So she leaves the destruction of the city. She's in a carriage with a driver and her handmaiden, I guess.
Nairi.
Oh, she has a name? Cool.
Go down. Chick who goes down.
So then these... Oh, that chick?
Yeah,
her prayer partner.
So she goes, they camp for the night or something like that, and then these silk trading slave people come and capture her.
It's the shadows that work for the Silk King.
Right.
Because everybody's got shadows, turns out.
Yeah, they show up, they kill the driver and her handmaid, and then they capture her and bring her back to what's called the Silk City.
A building.
It's one building, yeah.
Where basically the Silk King is there, and he kind of runs this like slave trade where they're making silk, because in a blind society, having such a luxurious cloth to drape your body in is the height of, status.
I mean, who doesn't like silk?
Everybody loves silk.
Right.
I like silk sheets.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in a blind society, you would think that they would place a big like premium on such fine
The
fabric.
way that things feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that. I understand all of that. And I actually, this silk trader main bad guy, probably one of the more ruthless characters.
And he's very realistic.
Also the most realistic.
His hair's all fucked
He's
up.
got all messed up hair, like bedhead. His beard's all scraggly and out of nowhere. Like, oh, okay, he fits.
Yeah.
He
I
does.
get it.
He really did, right?
Yeah. And he's such a dick. And he's like,
he was like the one character in this entire show that actually like looked the part.
Yeah. And
I totally bought into this.
I bought into it too. And the way he was treating Queen Kane also tracked. Because he was like, they had her tied up and they also had a bell. And he's like, every time that bell rings, you're going to get your ass beat.
It's like,
and so she would shake the bell and the freaking guard would come over and just whack the shit out of her.
It was
and
like
I'm like, oh.
It was like when that episode started getting filmed, they brought in actual blind people as consultants on the show.
They started to figure out what they were trying to do.
Right, yeah.
Because that was definitely makes the most sense is his whole way of doing things.
Because he was like, don't move.
Yeah.
It's like, if
and
you
she
move,
keeps fucking around.
Yeah.
And the bell starts ringing.
And he's like, it's funny too, because the way she was talking to him, she's like, you're used to having power. You must be some kind of royalty, some spoiled brat. And I'm like, oh, this dude's got her dialed in.
your hands are very soft.
Yeah, you're a very soft-handed person.
Never worked a day in your life.
Yeah, oh God, I love his character.
Yeah.
I kind of wish he didn't die. Did he die, right?
Smart.
Eventually.
I think between after Tamaktajune, he's like probably my favorite.
This show does villains
character.
really well.
Yeah.
All the people who are dicks are really
All
dicks.
the people you're supposed to be rooting for, you hate.
Yeah.
But like the villains are so good.
I still want to know about Weird Albino Guy.
Which one was he? Oh, yeah.
I
Tamakta June's second guy?
I hope they develop him.
God,
in
I hope
season
they.
two.
I want to know more about
Such
that
a
guy.
badass.
He's
He
so
hasn't
weird
even
looking.
done anything.
He's done nothing.
Not a
but
word.
We're all gonna have nightmares about
But
him.
every episode, all they do is they pan the camera up around him and they just stare at him for a
Not
minute,
a
and he's
word.
just sitting there like.
Yeah, so
It's so weird.
in this episode, basically Boots betrays Baba Voss and the twins.
Yeah.
He
Puts them in
sends
a cage.
he sends them in.
They're putting way too
into
much
this-
trust into this guy.
Yeah.
Well, he basically traps them in this cave and sends them down below where there's like this tribe of like underground
Mole
dwellers
people.
that he also sent his mother to exile her. And so he basically gets rid of them and he wants to align himself with Magra in order to win her favor. Because she's like the one with the power, and he saw how like everyone bowed down to her, and so like he's like, that's the person I want to be with. So he lied to them, said that Magra died, traps them in this cave, and then goes off to basically kind of Game of Thrones it up.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Baba Voss and the twins, they're in this dark tunnel. They're fighting with this other tribe. They get captured. The mother lets them go after they promise to kill Boots. And
The mother gives them like an exposition dump.
They have a
like
very
what happened.
They have a very dramatic escape scene up the tunnel.
Yeah, like there's another great fight scene with Baba Voss against all these guys. He gets messed up, but still manages to freaking climb his way out of this tunnel
Yeah.
to meet up with his family, who again were useless. And so that was kind of like their thing. And thinking Magra's dead, they decide to continue following Jerlin Morrell's clues to what's called the Lavender Road. But while all this is going on, basically Magra is basically dictating to Tamakta June, because he still has to like do what she says because she's royalty, that she wants, her family found and like all this other stuff. And the entire time June and I are watching this, we're like, why couldn't she have done that back at New Alchemy to save her entire tribe?
Thank you.
She could have saved everyone.
Yeah, literally none of this show would have happened if Tamakta June showed up and Magra was just like, "Hey, bro,
Ding-a-ling.
here I am," and then he'd be like, "Oh shit, okay,
Yeah,
you're alive."
Because the story that the queen told was that Jerlin Morrell killed her sister
Right.
and took off. So nobody even thinks that Magra is alive. And then when it turns out she's very much alive and well, and she's the mother of these twins he's been hunting, he's like, oh, shit.
17 years ago, she could have solved the whole problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. She could have saved the lives of everyone in that tribe.
Yeah, Magra's an idiot.
Yeah. Well, she's a complete jerk.
Yeah.
It's such a huge plot hole.
Yeah.
That you're like, why wouldn't she have done this? And we also found out in an earlier episode that one of the reasons that Queen Kane is so obsessed with tracking down Jerlin Morrell and the witches with sight is that he was her consort.
She's in love with him.
And she was in love with him.
And he left her.
And he jilted her. And so like it's all about revenge for her.
And also, don't you think he was, obviously he was banging the queen too, and she never got pregnant. And he was like, my time is wasted with you.
Yeah.
I'm going to go knock up your sister.
Yeah. Now that you mention it, yeah.
And there was also this whole thing where like Magra tried to get the throne, and Tamakta June decided to back her older sister because she was the rightful one in succession.
Technically, it should have gone to the sister, but when the king was dying, he said that Magra was the one that he was leaving to rule.
And this all gets revealed to
and that made
Tamakta June.
Queen Kane like nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of backstory, a lot of exposition dump on this one. So is there anything?
Yeah. So basically, Queen Kane in the Silk City reveals her identity, and the Silk King decides that he's going to ransom her off to Kanzua. So he sends his shadows with a ransom demand to the Witchfinder General's army.
Who Boots can see.
Well, so like they don't know who delivered the message, but he gets it, and he goes to Magra, and he's like, we got a situation here. We don't know if the queen's alive or dead. And Boots basically steps up and says like, hey, I can see who delivered the message. And so he's able to capture the two shadows, and the Witchfinder General is going to torture them to find out where they came from. So it kind of turns the Silk King's plan on its head.
Yeah. Tamakta June tortures them like, oh, dude, he ties them to the
He's
hands,
a
cuts
badass,
their fingers
dude.
off. Dude, it's
He
crazy.
does not mess around.
No, it does not. So the next episode, The Lavender Road, says the twins reach a crossroads in their journey to the House of Enlightenment and have to find their way back to the path. So Lavender Road, I guess it's in reference to this part of the pathway, which is like 4 miles away from their original village.
With lavender flowers.
Lined with lavender flowers so people can smell, which makes sense. There's another one of those things like, oh yeah, that would make sense. You would plant this specific plant to say, oh, this is how we get to this location.
It's smell and sight. Because the lavender, the purple of the lavender.
That's a Morrell thing, for sure. So I kind of like that. I wish they would continue that trend with other places. Like, hey, the Lavender Road is how you get to point A.
The eucalyptus
jungle is that way. That takes you to this city, and the freaking the daisies are over here. They go that way. Like you would think they would amp that up a little bit. No, this is only used once. But the only part of this episode that really struck me was like they were traveling on this road. They were talking about getting to this place where Joe Morrell was leaving the messages, the House of Enlightenment. And they come across this giant, like, decaying statue of human bodies along with animal skeletons.
Smells like death.
It's got a warning message on it. Everybody's like, God, is this Joe Morrell's freaking place? Like,
let me ask you something.
Yeah.
If you come up on this decaying statue, do you reach out looking for a message? Didn't make sense to me.
No.
Well, Kofun saw it there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but the message was on a rope. It's meant for a blind person because it's meant to.
Kofun, the twins can read the ropes. So like he saw it and he like said like, Dad, look at this. And basically this is the first inclination we get that things might not be all right with Joe Morrell.
Yeah.
But they justify it. It's like they're using this to keep like blind people away because they only want sighted people to go forward. Yeah. So like they continue past it.
Okay,
because
that does make more sense now.
Again, if they come across something that's like that stench of death, the blind people would turn away. Yeah, that was the only part of this episode that really struck out to me. I was like, oh God, that's gross. And that kind of hints to like maybe things aren't quite what they're going to be when you show up here. But did you have anything to add to this episode?
Oh yeah,
without getting too into the woods.
I mean, there's a lot that happens this episode because it's the penultimate episode.
Right.
Oh, come on.
Drink.
Okay, hold on. All right.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, there's a lot of things going on here. So first of all, the Baba Voss party makes it to this like valley, and they find that there are all these sound traps on the ground, and there are blind archers hidden in the trees above. And so Baba Voss like takes his axe pick that he picked up from the cave.
Oh my God.
And throws it, hits a guy square on, has him like fall out.
That was amazing though.
That was the most stupidest thing.
Yes, I agree.
Yes.
So Baba Voss,
echolocation.
Baba Voss is listening very carefully, and the archer like freaking 100 yards away on this cliff like shifts his foot. And Baba Voss just launches this freaking boomerang axe thing and nails the dude.
But there's like a whole bunch of blind archers.
Yeah.
And they shoot their arrows based off of like sounds.
Yeah. Which makes sense, kind of.
Well, you think like, were there any like false alarms where like maybe there should have been arrows sticking in the path, like before
just a rabbit kind of walks by or something?
Yeah, something because they don't know like what's down there, so like they're just like going based off of what the sound traps do. So eventually, Beau Lyon tries to go and get the dead archers' equipment so they can fight back
because she can walk in silence.
Yes,
and which made sense.
Yeah, but at a certain point, she accidentally steps on a sound trap. The arrows come flying. She gets hit in the leg, and as the twins start rushing to her aid, Baba Voss yells out, "Kofun, Hanawa, no!" And then one of the archers,
everything stops.
Yeah, one of the archers is like, "Did you say Kofun and Hanawa?"
This is the dumbest part of this whole show.
So if these two,
he's been telling all of his guys, hey, listen for these names.
Yeah.
For 17 years.
Yeah.
It's so stupid.
And, but here's the thing though, is if they just walked down this path and they were like, hey, there's sound traps everywhere. That's kind of weird. And they like kicked one off accidentally. The dude would have had just killed his kids. Because unless they're like, hey, my name is so-and-so and I'm here to, like, who's going to say that?
Yeah, they didn't even know there were archers.
There was no warning or anything. It wasn't like
Baba found them.
Yeah, it wasn't like the freaking bloody gates where they were like, who shall pass? And you have to say who you are before you get in.
Who shall not pass?
Yeah, it's like there's had to have been a moment like that.
Yeah.
No.
And then the guy who came out and called their names, it's like only Kofun and Hanawa may enter. The rest of you have to go fuck off.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much, right?
And
Paris is like, do you have a healer? And he's like, yeah, we do, but fuck off.
Basically the twins make the decision that they don't want to go without their family, and Baba Voss is like, no, you need to go. And so the twins,
he's like, we came all this way, not for you to turn back.
The twins forge ahead, and Baba Voss takes Beau Lyon, who's wounded, on his back, and Paris, and they go to seek a tribe with a healer to help
the bird people.
Yeah.
Covered in feathers.
So they have a conversation. Baba Voss is like, look, we've traveled this far. You guys have to go. We will stay back. We'll take care of Beau Lyon. We'll go get her fixed up. You guys go forward and talk to your dad, and we'll be around. And of course, Paris is like, dude, what the hell? We're supposed to stay with them. And he's like, trust me.
Yeah.
I got this.
I'm going to go around the back.
I'm gonna run on the freaking backside. And
I
sneak
get
in.
around.
I get around like a record. So, no, that's freaking Jared Morrell.
and so while that's going on, the Witchfinder General takes Queen or Princess Magra and Boots to the Silk City, and has Boots go in and do some reconnaissance. So Boots reports back, tells him where all the guards are, tells him where the queen is. And Jeweler Morrell decides that he's going to go in by himself and take out the guards.
Jeweler Morrell.
All right.
Tamok
June.
There you go.
Couldn't Boots have taken the entire city out on his own?
Yes.
Well, he offered to do that.
Yeah. But he was there already. Like, if you're going to go down there and be like, hey, we're going to scope the place out. I'm like, well, while you're down there, just freaking take it out.
Yeah, can you just kill all those people?
Whatever. But here's the thing, though. What I did take away from this is that Tamok June is just as much of a badass as Baba Voss.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
When he goes in there and starts freaking just slicing people up, it was dope.
So I feel a little bit robbed.
Why is that?
Because we never got the confrontation between
Tamok
Baba Voss and Tamok June.
Well, he might still be.
Well, hold on. That's for the next episode. But in this episode, Queen Kane gets rescued by Tamok June. Magra and Tamok June go to her, and she reveals that, first of all, she kills the Silk King because that was part of her plan.
Yeah.
But then she reveals that she destroyed Kanzua by destroying the dam and wiping out everyone.
And she's so like, you're so welcome to be with me again. And Tamok June is like, you just killed the whole army's families.
Yeah. I love that conversation that he had with her.
She's a psycho.
He's like, you think my men are going to follow you? And she's like, those are my men.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at this point, Boots kind of sees like the landscape changing. Tamok June wants to kind of put Magra into the queen's space. And the only way that they can do that is if she either abdicates or dies. And so in order to save her life, they give her the choice to abdicate to Magra. Mm-hmm. But the queen's kind of like cohort from the Silk City gets in the ear of Boots and says like, would you rather be aligned with a princess or a queen?
Yeah.
And so Boots basically decides like he's going to switch sides yet again.
Being the dick that he is. I freaking hate that dude.
He's the worst.
He's so terrible. He not as bad as his dad though. So the last episode, House of Enlightenment. So we finally get to where Jared Morrell is set up his little...
And it's like an old prison, right?
Yeah, it's an old prison. Yeah. He said it was built to last.
Real nice place.
And it has a boiler that burns on coal, which is kind of cool.
They've got showers.
I'm like, I get it.
They've got a coal mine right next door where they mine the coal to run the generators.
How convenient.
Dude, it's Pennsylvania. Yeah, they're going to have a coal mine right next to a prison.
We're still in Pennsylvania.
We're still like within 50 miles of where this all started.
Yeah.
But anyway, Jared Morrell.
I hope season 6 is like California with all the tribes.
Oh, shit.
You know?
It's so weird that we like this.
Or Florida. Oh,
as
Florida.
much shit as we talk about this show, we still like it.
I think it's Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with it.
I think it's Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh.
I'm sure there's a prison.
There was an episode where they said that Pittsburgh was close by.
Yeah.
So
I was born in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Jews, we're losing Jude.
They had maps. So
last episode, Jude. House of Enlightenment. Jared Morrell is revealed to be a total man whore and also a bit of a genocidal maniac who sells his own daughter to stay in good graces with the slavers. Baba Voss then takes revenge and owns the day. All right, so this episode was pretty badass, but also really made me hate that I've been trawling around trying to find Jared Morrell this whole season.
I know, right?
Because at the end of the I'm like, that's what we get. We get this douchebag So he's like we
this
talked
maniac?
about. Yeah, we talked about this a little bit already, but
prison full of offspring
of his own kids,
and one of those offspring has kids. I'm like, who did he have kids with? His sister?
Yes,
And
that's exactly
and blind slaves.
So they're step brothers and sisters. So they're making offspring that way, which I mean they're
no, they're not sleeping with each other. They're getting there's the Travantians who are like the neighboring kingdom, and Joel Morrell has created an alliance with them, and so they send them blind soldiers and concubines. And basically Joel Morrell's oldest son, who's with him, is taking after his dad by knocking up blind bitches left and right. Because like the whole purpose,
because they didn't see that dick coming.
Well, the whole thing about Joel Morrell is that they want to create more blind people. So their whole purpose is every male has to like spread.
You mean sighted people?
Yeah, every sighted male has to spread his seed as wide and far as he can. So like there's no incest going on.
There isn't? Oh, I was under the impression there totally was.
No, Joel Morrell is like he understands genetics, right? Okay. He's educated, so like he's not going to like let his children be banging each other.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
And that's another reason why he decided to give up Hanoa instead of Kofun, is because he needs the men to do the impregnating, so the females are less valuable to him.
I mean, he gave up the wrong kid because she's a badass and he's worthless.
And the dude is completely. Oh, God, I hate him.
Yeah, but Kofun and Hanoa show up at the House of Enlightenment. They're welcomed by Joel Morrell. He kind of tries to put aside,
indoctrinate them a little bit,
indoctrinate them, but they realize that something's not right there, and they find out about the alliance with the Travantians, and Hanoa gets kind of knocked out and sent off with them, and Kofun gets imprisoned, and Joel Morrell keeps trying to convince Kofun to just go along with it. And Kofun's like, you kidnapped and sold off my sister. No, I'm never going to, typical Kofun tact. Yeah, just exactly.
Lie.
He's not as smart as he's supposed to be. and so like they take him out.
All those books didn't do shit for this guy.
Yeah. So basically the whole Joel Morrell storyline turns out he's like the big villain of the show. Yeah. And while this is going on, there's like the whole Game of Thrones things back at the City of Silk where Magra is trying to convince Queen Cain to abdicate. Queen Cain aligns with Boots, who assassinates Joel Morrell, or not Joel Morrell, Tamak Tajun, the Witchfinder General.
If anybody hasn't watched this and is still following along with all these names, good on you, man.
Yeah. If anybody's still listening to us an hour and 45 minutes later.
Yeah, so basically Tamak Tajun gets assassinated. Boots is now Queen Cain's like right-hand man. And the lie that they spin is that Tamak Tajun took his own life because of the shame of letting his queen get kidnapped and not getting like the witches. And Magra is forced to go along with this lie, but in doing so, she kind of claims control of the army by giving them a new mission, and that mission is to find Joel Morrell and her family. And so Queen Cain and Magra are kind of like uneasy alliance there with Boots in the middle, and that's like the end of that story where basically there's this weird power struggle between the queen and her sister over this army who still don't know that Kanzua has been destroyed. And so that's where Magra's story ends.
And that creepy guy is looking like a badass, but he knows like something fishy went on.
Yeah.
And they set up that Tamak Tajun might not be entirely dead.
They did.
Yeah,
he's just mostly dead.
There's a building, the Silk building is caught on fire. They burn it down, and then it has the camera zoom in, and you see Tamak Tajun just kind of like sitting there.
He looked pretty dead.
He looked kind of dead.
He knows more. He's forgotten more about death than you'll ever know.
But why would they show him again?
Yeah, he's not dead.
That's it.
I don't think
I'm assuming he's going to come up at the end of it.
Gotta come back.
At end of episode 3, he's
something
going to show up. Well, like a really dramatic moment.
We'll find out soon in season 2. But so like that was Magra's storyline, and then back at the House of Enlightenment, they're about to kill Kofun. After dropping Beau Lyon off to get healed at like the bird tribe, Baba Voss comes back. How he got past the archers, I have no idea. He went the back way. He went around. Yeah. So he shows up.
He went through the wall like Kool-Aid Man.
He's a ninja.
Yeah. He rescues Kofun for like the billionth time. Then father and son team up to go back into the House of Enlightenment. Kofun goes to shut off the generator. Yeah. And while that's going on, Baba Voss has his showdown with Joel Morrell, who has a gun.
This is the epic showdown that we've been waiting for all season.
It was a lot of fun. However, it still doesn't make any sense because Joel Morrell literally has an arsenal of weaponry, of guns, And then like Baba Voss is like
those guns are hella old though.
But he's like, but
They are hella old.
but Baba Voss is like
right.
talking shit, like, oh, you think your guns are gonna save you? And
Well,
then like,
you know what's funny is so Joel Morrell has built this library in this prison over the course of the years where he's just collected all these books. And Jude was like, do you think there's like a whole wall of pornography somewhere?
well, Baba Voss is in there like
Martha Stewart Living magazine.
he's like smashing books, and he's like, you live in your own filth and your stench.
Yeah.
He's like talking mad shit to this dude.
Oh, there's
to try to get him worked up.
There's definitely some societal. What's the word I'm looking for?
You know what was weird to me is the idea that there are actually like white people in this future, because you'd think that blind people, you know, they can't see the color of the skin. So over the course of 500 years, all these small tribes would intermingle, and everyone would be mixed race.
I don't know where you're going with that one.
No, I'm just saying like Magra is like white. The queen is white.
Yeah.
There are actual like white people in this world where there shouldn't be. Like everyone should have like had sex with one another.
Everybody should be equally brown.
Exactly.
The equal shade of tan. Okay.
I mean, you're in Pennsylvania, bro. Have you ever been to Pennsylvania?
You make a good point.
I'm from Pennsylvania. Underneath this shirt, white.
I mean, I went to college in Pennsylvania. I'm just saying, over the course of 500 years,
I don't know.
You know, you get a couple Joel Morrells running around. You know, there's not going to be any white people.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know how that works.
Weird tangent.
That was a really weird tangent.
It's just one of those world building things that stuck out to me because it's a mixed race cast, right? So you'd think that like by this point, like there would be no pure race.
Honestly, I don't get a lot of like the weird modern woke nonsense in this show.
Same.
And I think that's the reason I like this show.
There's no room in it for it.
It's just it is what it is.
Yeah.
And it's fine.
It's not even woke. It's just like genetics.
It's not at all.
But the big fight between Joel Morrell and Baba Voss comes to a head as soon as like the lights go out, because up until that point, Joel Morrell had the advantage. Yeah. And once Kofun knocks out the lights.
See, I told you, sight is the disability.
Well, Baba Voss basically gets him in like this weird wrestling hold and blinds him by like gouging his eyes
savage.
Oh, yeah.
He had him in like an arm lock. He breaks his arm and then he grabs his head with his thighs.
Says, you did this.
Yeah.
And then he blinds him.
Fucking shoves his thumbs into his eyeballs. Oh, so brutal.
In my head, if a blind guy is going to fight a guy with sight and it's pitch black, the blind guy is going to win.
That's Arya Stark versus
every single time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just because they know how to operate in
it wouldn't make a difference to them.
So yeah,
the blind dude's gonna be like, oh shit.
This whole like kind of like final battle type thing. So basically, he leaves Joel Morrell alive, but he's blinded, and so him and Kofun escape from the House of Enlightenment and meet up with Paris. And so throughout the fight with Joel Morrell, Baba Voss discovers that his brother, I forget his name, but Dave Bautista in the season 2 has his daughter Hanawa.
I'd say it's like Edu or something.
Yeah. Odu Voss or something like that.
I'm going to look it up.
Whatever it is, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. So basically the season ends with Baba Voss, Kofun, and Paris looking out at a city that is controlled by his brother. Might be Pittsburgh.
It might be Pittsburgh.
I'm good.
Edo Voss.
Edo Voss. So basically looking over the city of the Travantians. Yeah. And they're like, okay, that's where we got to go to save Hanawa, and that's where the season ends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And okay, so we started out talking, we still talk mad trash about this show, but
there's a lot of trash to talk.
Yeah, but Vader, can you tell me why do we like this show so much?
Honestly, I don't know.
I don't either.
I mean, I'm going to admit, the first time I watched this show 2 years ago, I thought it was complete and utter dog shit.
You were so mad at us.
I was not happy that we were watching this show. I thought it was awful.
Yeah.
I binged watched the entire season again this week. And for some reason, I really enjoyed it. It was still dumb. All those things I didn't like about it before are still there. But for some reason, knowing what was going to happen and seeing things the way they set up things early for things that happen later kind of made it better.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Kind of.
And
it's like you already knew what didn't make sense and you were able to put it aside.
There's a lot of stupid crap in this show.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I kind of didn't care. It's like the rope knots and the fancy.
It's kind of charming now.
And the feathers, and it's like I'm still gonna make fun of this stuff every single time.
Okay.
I absolutely am. But I kind of enjoyed it. I kind of put this up there on the fantasy post-apocalypse kind of shelf of stuff, like with like Mad Max and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, it's just a different take on post-apocalyptic future. It's like, okay, cool, whatever, fine. They want to play around with heightened senses and ropes and whatever, then fine, okay.
All right.
Let's see where it goes. It's basically a sword and fantasy show set 500 years in the future.
The God Bone.
Yeah.
We forgot to mention.
We didn't even talk about the God Bone.
God Bone. Guys.
It's interesting. So and the whole beating off the prey and stuff, that's just bonkers, and it's completely fun. And it's like, yeah, I'm gonna have fun with it. So whatever, it's good.
Yeah.
Good to go.
Jude, do you love this show more now than you did before?
I think the third watch of the entire season wore me down a little bit.
Okay.
So it wasn't quite as enjoyable. But I still wanted to like rewatch the whole season just so that I didn't forget anything going into season 2, because I'm beside myself excited for season 2.
Yeah.
It looks amazing, and it looks like they're amping up like the production value and the costuming, which doesn't make sense, but I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Okay. Kadish, are you you talk a lot of crap about this show too, but are you excited for season 2?
Nope.
No, not even a little.
So this is a series that I hate watch, basically.
Okay.
Right? Like I don't like it. I every single second of every single episode, I'm sitting there being like, why'd they make this choice? Why are they doing this? Why? Like my filmmaker brain goes on overdrive over how stupid the decisions in every single episode are. And I can just imagine that even though like the trailers for season 2 look pretty good, it's just going to be taken up to the next level, because I don't think they learned their lesson from the first season. The show is produced and written by or show run by Stephen Knight, who did the Peaky Blinders show.
I freaking love that show.
And you would think, judging off of how good Peaky Blinders is, that this show would be good too, but nope. Like, I don't know what Stephen Knight is thinking, but like he did not think through any of this. And so, yeah, it's cool that Dave Bautista is going to be in season 2, but just going off of season 1, like every single episode, for every cool thing there were like 10 to 12 terribly stupid things.
It's so addictive, though.
It's enjoyably addictive. It's one of those things where it's like, I watch it because I enjoy how much I hate it. and that's what keeps me going.
So what in season 2 needs to happen to make you get on board?
I don't think there's anything they can do to make me get on board at this point.
They'd have to do so much explaining.
Well, they would have to do a lot better at world building, and they would have to actually think through how a blind society would operate and make it so that the characters act authentically.
Okay.
Because everything that takes me out of this show comes down to like just logically looking at how these characters interact with their world and being like, they wouldn't do that.
So pick one thing you want to see in season 2. What would it be?
I would like to see people not bowing.
Okay.
That's fair.
All right.
It's like for
Hey,
me,
showrunners, can we maybe not have any more bowing for Kadish?
It's easy respect. You know,
Yeah.
And I would like to know like how they trim their beards, because they have some very nice looking beards in the show.
You know what? That's one thing that I would like to talk about is the grooming in this show. Because it's not just the beards. Everybody has like hair ornaments.
Yeah.
And but like if you look closely, a lot of the ornaments are engraved and stuff. And like I wish that there was something that they explained about that. Like this is also how we identify people, because the shamans, they have this kind of engraving, or the seers or the aurors or the sentiers, and like everybody has adornments, and it makes absolutely no sense unless you explain it.
Yeah.
Right.
And it could make sense. And like everything that I'm assuming is just coming from my own headcanon, not from the show.
I feel like everybody has like some kind of ritual scarring going on somewhere.
Yeah.
But they don't tell us what any of that is.
Yeah.
That's the world building that Kadish is talking about. We need more world building.
I mean,
because we just gloss over all this stuff and we're like,
it's like, oh, okay, well, it's scarring.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like some of this world building has been thought through, but they never bothered to explain it to the audience.
Right.
I would just like some explanation, some basic setup and payoff stuff.
Yeah.
I just want to see Kofun get a set. I want to see him like do something cool.
I don't know if that's ever going to happen, dude.
See him not be completely useless.
Yeah, it'd be nice if he became useful in some
because
way.
there's a oh my God, there's a moment in the trailer for season 2 where Hennewa is like, my father will come to get me. Mm-hmm. Baba Voss is my father. And you see a freaking shot of Jason Momoa with like freaking armor on.
Samurai armor.
And he's like walking through a city. And I'm like, God damn it, I'm so excited.
Yeah. And Dave Bautista's like, I'm betting on your father.
Yes. Oh, dude.
I'm excited.
I don't care about anything else that happened in season 1. Forget Jerry Morrell. Forget his stupid little clan.
For sure, forget that.
I don't ever want to see that douchebag again.
Who cares about him?
I want to see Baba Voss just be Baba Voss for 8 episodes. That's it.
I just want to see a bunch of blind people kick each other's asses. I don't care if they can see or not. This is make a cool show.
Yeah, make it fun, make it cool. And I think I disagree with you, Cage. I think they have learned a couple of things because they've definitely, according to the trailers that we've watched, they've leaned more into the let's see some badass people doing some badass shit. That seems to be the way they're leaning, as opposed to this is all like family drama and who is this prophecy of seeing people and all. It's who cares? Who doesn't care? Nobody cares. It doesn't matter. It's nonsense.
Looking forward to the dynamic between Queen Kane and Magra.
Mm-hmm.
I really think Tamak Dejun is still alive. He's going to come back and they're going to overthrow the queen.
Did you see the
I
newest
want Boots
trailer?
to die. I think the queen is going to try and fuck Boots because she wants a sighted baby.
That's correct.
She's going to try to pray with him.
Pray to the gods.
Anyway,
did you see the newest trailer?
No.
Magra goes full warrior chick.
What?
She's got like these badass, like it looks like a Klingon bat lift, dude.
Sick.
Yes.
I gotta watch this later.
And it's like a queen must stand up for her people, and she has like freaking knives and like badass freaking robe and shit. I'm in.
I'm about to pray right now.
All right, guys, that's it. We got to wrap this up. This has gone on for way too long. Thank you.
We did not mean to talk this long about this.
We
show.
love this stupid show.
I knew we would.
You called it yesterday. You were like, we're here for 3 hours. So we have been. But if you're still here, if you watched this whole freaking thing, bravo.
God
Go to
bless
saltynerdclub.com and become a patron, for God's sake, if you've been here for that long. Thank you for joining us. Go watch the show, and then we will be doing episode by episode breakdowns of season 2 coming up at the end of the month. We'll probably
Which won't take as long.
Starting next week, right?
Yeah, next week is the first episode. So following first week of September will be our first drop for season 2.
I'm glad we finally did this though, because we've been talking about recapping season 1 for 2 years.
This
needed to happen.
Cornerstone of this podcast is this ridiculous show.
It's so dumb. It's really dumb.
All right, guys. Vader, where can they find you on the socials?
You can find me at MattVader74 on the socials and at salty_nerd on Twitter and here on saltynerdvideo.com on YouTube. Some days, like Saturdays, I think. I don't know.
Excellent.
That might be changing, but we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
So,
Jude, where can they find you?
You can find me at I am Jude Juju on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And you can find me on my website at thevoiceofjude.com.
And Matthew Kadish.
You can find me at Matthew Kadish, Kadish, over on Twitter, and kadishbooks.com will take you to my Amazon page. And also go to saltylist.com if you want to sign up for our newsletter.
And I am the Salty Nerd. You can catch me on our Discord channel. Go to saltynerddiscord.com. And I'm going to set up a chat room specifically for this show because it needs to be talked about. Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us for this long. We really do appreciate it. And as always, stay salty, my friends.